Já pensou vender em qualquer lugar gastando menos? Com o app do Tom, você pede a T3 Smart com até 72% de desconto. E também pode vender direto pelo celular de onde quiser. Vem vender com o Tom.
Houston, integrity for timeline.
Christina, we're with you.
Hey, Jackie. You guys okay if we start entry checklist 30 minutes early?
Checking. And Integrity Houston for entry checklist. We are ready for you to begin 18.0.1 entry checklist, steps 1 through 6.
Copy. We're go entry checklist 1 through 6. Thanks.
And step 3 for GPS can be skipped. GPS has been powered and it still looks good.
Copy. Step 3 is a skip.
This is Mission Control Houston at a mission elapsed time of 8 days, 21 hours, 50 minutes into the flight of Integrity on the Artemis II mission. The crew is completing the configuration of the crew cabin. Soon they'll be breaking out their launch and entry suits in preparation for donning those suits and conducting leak checks as we get a bit further along in the entry preparation time frame. Meanwhile, we're looking forward to the next major milestone. That will be the separation of the crew module from the European service module 3 hours and 7 minutes from now. That's scheduled to occur at 6:33 p.m. Central Time, 7:33 p.m. Eastern Time. 4 minutes after that, we'll conduct a raise burn. This will be about a 19-second firing of Integrity's thrusters with a change in velocity of 9.9 feet per second. That will adjust the angle of attack of the vehicle by gently tipping the aft end of Integrity higher, if you will, like sitting in a reclining chair and basically leaning back a bit. This angle of attack adjustment is specifically designed and pre-planned to enter the Earth's atmosphere at entry interface later this evening at the proper angle to minimize heating effects on Integrity's heat shield. It's worth mentioning once again that the difference between this entry and the uncrewed entry of Artemis I is that on Artemis I, we flew a trajectory known as a skip entry, which involved an initial dip into the atmosphere to dissipate some energy. And then we lofted back out of the atmosphere briefly, then dipped back in a second time before splashing down in the Pacific. After the flight, the post-flight inspection and video analysis showed that there was an area of mechanical char liberation that was not expected. And so after extensive analysis and the review of an independent review team, it was determined to adjust the entry profile for Artemis II, minimizing the range of entry from 3,178 nautical miles to a distance of just 1,775 nautical miles across the Pacific. So instead of 20 minutes of exposure to heating effects, today we're going to only encounter 13.5 minutes of heat loads on the vehicle. Our intended splashdown target is about 1,701 nautical miles downrange from the point of entry interface. It will be about 13.5 minutes from the time that we enter the Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of 400,000 feet at 6:53 and 31 seconds p.m. Central Time to the point of splashdown at 7:07 and 7 seconds p.m. Central Time. In that brief 13.5 minute period, peak heating on the vehicle should be about 4,000 to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat to be repelled by Integrity's heat shield, as it is for any vehicle entering the Earth's atmosphere that has a crew on board. The crew should be experiencing a G load on their bodies of about 3.9 Gs at peak loads on the crew members, feeling the tug of Earth's gravity for the first time in 9 days. We will decelerate from a speed of 23,839 miles an hour just after we begin the blackout period of 6 minutes in duration to a splashdown velocity of just 19 miles an hour, all that happening in rapid-fire succession. Splashdown now 3 hours and 36 minutes from now, 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. The USS John P. Murtha is on station. Some of the airborne assets, helicopters, and fixed-wing aircraft are taking off in sequential fashion from the deck of the ship These are imagery assets, the actual Navy recovery helicopters that will hoist the crew out of the front porch, inflatable raft that will be erected alongside the hatchway to Integrity. And there's a view, a live view from the deck of the USS John P. Murtha. It is a bit overcast. We do expect those clouds to lift a bit over the next few hours. We should have some broken and scattered clouds. It won't be crystal clear blue skies out there in the Pacific, but the weather is go and forecast to be go by the Spaceflight Meteorology Group. The Navy helicopters will be hovering over the spacecraft once it is powered down, and once it is guaranteed to be uprighted through the inflation of the 5 crew module uprighting system airbags that will take place shortly after splashdown. The Navy divers and Navy flight surgeon will pull alongside the spacecraft to begin the process of erecting the front porch. Then they will open up the hatch and begin to extract the crew members one by one. They'll have an opportunity to get their land legs back a bit before they're hoisted one by one in harnesses up inside the 2 awaiting helicopters. They'll be hoisted up in alternating fashion. So there'll be two crew members for each helicopter for the short ride back to the Murtha. Once they arrive on the deck of the ship, they'll be brought into medical bay for comprehensive medical exams. That is all part of the post-flight medical evaluation of these crew members as they complete their mission around the moon and back to Earth.
Integrity Houston for entry checklist.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Hey, Reed, a couple of questions for you. We realized we didn't give you an explicit thumbs up to perform step 1.2 for the flight path angle hash mark update, so we wanted to confirm that you did in fact perform the set EI FPA limits procedure. And secondly, we want your opinion on the in and out CMIS caution. Is that something that will be distracting such that we should inhibit it?
Okay, we are going to go execute 1.2. We had skipped that, and we would prefer to inhibit the CMIS caution on board.
Okay, we copy, and just to close the loop on that, if that does stay below the threshold.
And that is totally fine.
Houston, integrity for toilet deactivation.
Integrity, Jackie had to step off for a second. Go ahead for toilet.
Yes, sir. Hey, Stan. Great to hear your voice. We are ready for MCC to deactivate the toilet.
Houston copies. Putting that in work.
This is Mission Control Houston. That communication from Christina Cook on board Integrity to spacecraft communicator Stan Love.
Integrity for burn telemetry on CM raise burn. 2 questions.
Go for CM raise questions.
Hey, Jackie, we see a Delta V tote on our display of 9.9, which is fairly close to the 8.5 on the entry pad, but our TIGO on the display is 44 seconds, and the entry pad estimated 19 seconds. Can y'all take a look at that for us?
Hey, Reed, good catch. The explanation there is that Delta V is about what we expect update-wise, but the TIGO calculation is not understanding that you will not have the SM when you burn CM raised. So it's doing a different mass calculation there.
I remember that class in November of 2023 in Building 5 on the 3rd floor. Thank you very much.
This is Mission Control Houston. Commander Reed Wiseman inquiring about the values for the upcoming crew module raise burn. Again, as we've explained, this burn that's scheduled 2 hours and 51 minutes from now is designed to tilt the angle of attack a bit upward, basically raising the aft end of the vehicle prior to entry interface, to improve the angle of attack and minimize heating effects on the heat shield for the Orion vehicle. The crew module raise burn will occur about 4 minutes after the service module is separated from the crew module, and we're expecting about a 19-second burn.
Integrity, Houston, the toilet is unpowered.
Christina Rogers, thank you.
The crew module raise burn is expected to be 19 seconds in duration, with a change in velocity of about 9.9 feet per second. Once again, that's designed to fine-tune the angle of attack for Integrity as it enters the Earth's atmosphere, which will occur about 16.5 minutes after the raise burn itself. And as you heard, spacecraft communicator Jackie Mahaffey relaying that we have sent commands to turn off the ship's potty, so it is no longer to be used for the remainder of the mission, with splashdown schedule 3 hours and 19 minutes from now. The 4 crew members on board Integrity, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen, are in the process of completing the stowage of items in the crew cabin before they move into their entry checklist, basically looking through all of the chronological procedures that lie ahead for the rapid-fire succession of all of the events that will unfold over the course of the next 3 hours. Integrity is about 25,000 nautical miles from Earth, continuing to accelerate towards a splashdown in the Pacific 3 hours and 18 minutes from now. All of Integrity's systems are in excellent shape. The crew is great, feeling well, and the weather in the splashdown zone in the Pacific, although a bit cloudy with broken and scattered clouds, is a go forecast with just 10-knot winds and wave heights less than 4 feet. Views from
Integrity Houston for a post-RTC3 tracking update.
Go ahead, Houston.
Hey, the post-RTC3 tracking looks great. So good, in fact, that if we got to CM rays and did not yet have GPS acquisition, we would still be go for CM rays from that perspective. And so overall, I can confirm the post-RTC3 trajectory is within EI limits.
All right, Jackie, we love that. That says a lot about our FIDO folks in this vehicle.
This is Mission Control Houston. A tip of the hat from Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen to the flight dynamics folks and the guidance, navigation, and control officer. The RTC-3 burn that was conducted just over 2 hours ago, which was basically a final fine-tuning of the trajectory of integrity to hit the sweet spot in the corridor over the Pacific Ocean for entry interface, was so perfect that we are dead on the center line down the corridor. And the crew module raise burn that is scheduled at 6:37 p.m. Central Time and which will be conducted is only required to lift the aft end of the vehicle ever so slightly by a degree or two to improve the angle of attack of the spacecraft as it enters the atmosphere, mitigating peak heating effects on the heat shield for integrity. But our trajectory is dead set, right on the money, right down the pike, heading for a splashdown 3 hours and 10 minutes from now at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time.
Banho frio nunca mais. Aqui na Ferreira Costa você encontra ducha com qualidade Lorenzetti em promoção. Olha esse modelo aqui, ducha Loren Shower com 4 opções de temperatura por apenas R$ 119,90. Garanta já na loja, no site ou no app.
Faça uma parceria com a Expedia Group e aproveite a nossa rede B2B global de agências de viagens, instituições financeiras e parceiros corporativos. Alcance viajantes de alto valor que reservam mais durante a baixa temporada e durante a semana. Comece a receber hóspedes do mundo todo.
Integrity, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, this is Integrity. We are.
Administrator Isaacman, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call Integrity for a voice check.
Check.
Integrity had a check, loud and clear. How do you have us?
Integrity, Jared, you're about 5x3 right now, but it's looking like it's stabilizing. It's great to chat with you again. And good evening, Artemis II crew. As you all approach your final day on this historic journey around the moon, the people of Earth remain inspired by your mission. They're energized by space exploration, and most importantly, they're eager to have you all home very soon. Now, NASA couldn't execute on our important mission without the steadfast support we receive from the United States Congress, who work with the agency to make sure it has the right direction to expand American leadership in space and the necessary resources to execute on our world-changing mission. Now, we have several NASA congressional supporters online today, and they have a few questions they'd like to ask you on behalf of their constituents across the country. Our first question is coming from Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, who spearheaded our One Big Beautiful Bill historic investment in America's leadership in space. The chairman is with me now at Johnson Space Center, and over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you, Jared. Integrity, this is Ted, comms check. It is, I feel very official now. I will say I feel particularly profound. This is the first and only time in my life when I've stood next to someone who is speaking on behalf of the people of Earth. That's a heck of a statement, and I know that you guys are. I can only imagine the awe and wonderment you feel, but I want to just start by saying thank you. You are inspiring. That is not hyperbole when Jared speaks about the people of Earth across the planet. People are watching you and amazed, watching you put food packets away, as we were doing just a few minutes ago, watching you float around with the floating head, and you are bringing people together all across our globe. So thank you. Thank you for your good cheer. Thank you for your eloquence. Thank you for inspiring people. I have two questions. Number one, if you could go back in time and talk to yourself at age 10, what would you tell yourself about going to the moon? And then question two, if and when they make a movie about this, who do you want to play you?
Well, sir, it's an honor to be with all of you, and please say hello to all of our colleagues there at Johnson Space Center. We can't wait to be back. My 10-year-old self, I recently found some photos of myself on a family vacation at Kennedy Space Center, and we were posing in front of the Saturn V rocket with my siblings and my parents. And if I could have told that little girl who took home a picture of Earthrise and hung it in her room that she would eventually launch from that same place to see that same view, I'm pretty sure she would not believe it. But even though I still can't believe it, and she certainly wouldn't believe it, she chased that dream, and it ended up happening. It's such an honor to hear that we've inspired. That's truly one of the top things that we ever wanted to do. And I am definitely not answering the movie question. That's going to be for Reed.
Senator Cruz, it's great to talk to you, and thank you for visiting our friends and family there at the Johnson Space Center. That is fantastic. We've thought a little bit about the movie, and I think that's way out of our pay grade. So we don't know who's going to play us. That's up to whoever decides. But one thing we do know for certain is this guy is going to be played by Buzz Lightyear, 100%, no doubt.
Thank you so much, Senator Cruz. Our next question comes from Senator Maria Cantwell of Washington.
Hi, congratulations to NASA and the Artemis team. I want you to know I spoke to Ann McClain earlier today, and she said the 8 balls are all incredibly proud of you. This mission is a major investment in science and a testament to human achievement. The Orion thrusters were built here in the state of Washington, and I invite you all to come and see the innovation and the people that you've inspired. My question is, as Americans who've traveled the farthest and seen direct observations that are proving so invaluable, once we go back and land humans on the moon, what are we going to learn from the human eye that the moon rovers couldn't tell us?
You know, I hope this really resonates because of right now and what's going on back there, at least what we hear about going on back home and in our communities. I think you all can feel the energy that this mission has brought. I really hope so. And one of the things that I was asked to talk about when I come back by one of my good friends, Tony Antonelli, he said, I want to know how it feels. There's going to be tons of pictures, but I want to know how it feels. And I think a rover can collect data a lot slower, but the human's going to be able to do it much faster. But then they're also going to come back and tell you how it feels. But physiologically, in a technical and medical sense, but also in an emotional sense, so that we can continue to have that human connection, not just the scientific and exploration, but the human connection.
Our next question comes from Senator Jerry Moran of Kansas.
Good evening to all of you. On Monday, Administrator Isaacman and I visited the Cosmosphere in Hutchinson, Kansas. Commander, it's the place you told me was the best space museum in the world. I've repeated that many times. I'd like to extend an invitation to each of you to come visit us in Hutchinson and be my guest. But I also want you to tell me how you can see the Artemis II mission as well as the Cosmosphere, inspiring the next generation for the well-being of the world.
Receba seu pedido em até 3 dias com a entrega full. Na Shopee, compensa mais. Shopee.
Grandes eventos o ano todo pagando mais barato? Corre que o Globoplay está em promoção. Aproveite o precinho que vai só até o final do mês.
Well, sir, I'll definitely take you up on that invitation because I have yet to see that museum, and I've just heard amazing things about it. So I look forward to that opportunity. And I hope that maybe something from this mission will end up in that museum at some point in the future. You know, as far as inspiration goes, I really think it comes down to just getting stuff done. And you can have an inspiration program, you can invest a lot of money in that, or you can have a program that just goes out and gets things done, like the Artemis program is doing. And then you can spend your inspiration program dollars on just disseminating that to the masses. And that is what I see happening here right now. I think we're knocking it out of the park.
Thank you, sir. Our next question is for Reed, comes from Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland.
Well, greetings to all of you. Reed, I had a special question for you because of your old alma mater. what would you say to a student attending your old high school, Delaney High School in Baltimore County, or to any other student in America who aspires to follow in your footsteps as an astronaut?
Well, Senator, it's great to talk to you. It's great to talk to you, especially from my home state of Maryland there. Lots of love. And I think, this could be a huge answer, but most simply, I think that the students of today, they've got to be willing to fail. They've got to be willing to take some risk in their school. Straight A's, that might be important to some, but really expanding your horizons, going out and doing things that are difficult, things that scare you, things that you might have to try a few times before you get them right. That's all well and good, and that's a huge part of the learning process. And one of my biggest takeaways from life is it's not how well you succeed, it's how well you fail. And when you have a tough spot, you got to get up and get back on the horse and keep on going. And I think that's so critical for the youth across the nation and across the world today. Just keep driving and keep trying and keep innovating. Thank you.
Good advice. Thank you.
Next up, we have a question from Congressman Brian Babin of Texas.
Hello, Artemis II crew, Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. I'm so proud to represent the team at Johnson Space Center and supporting you every step of the way. The entire country is inspired by your work and your dedication. It's amazing. And my question would be, if you could relive one moment of this mission so far, what would it be?
Wow, we are all brainstorming, and it would be a lot easier if you had said a list of 5, but I'm actually going to go way back because the big contenders are the eclipsed moon, which was one of the most surreal things any of us have ever seen, and it literally rendered us speechless. But I'm going to go all the way back to launch, because when we launched, it is such a quick experience. Our entire powered flight on the rocket was shorter than what we've done in this press conference so far. Yet it is such an incredible, important part of the mission, a dynamic phase in the mission. We train it so much. And if I could go back and replay it in slow motion to just imprint those memories even more, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Outstanding.
Thank you. Our
Thank
next
you
question
so
comes
very
from.
much.
Our next up, we have Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren of California.
Well, hello, crew, and thank you for all you've done. You've inspired people all over the world, and Brian Babin and I work together on the committee to make sure you have support across the board. Your last 8 days have taken place in the Integrity Orion spacecraft. Now, integrity is a quality we all strive for and hope our leaders can live up to. This mission has been unifying in so many ways and captured a global audience. What do you hope humanity takes away from it?
Thank you for that question, and hello to everyone in California. I hope that we connect back to when we went to the moon the first time and we started calling big things that humanity accomplished moonshots, and we take ownership of this moonshot and realize that we can do it. And then we also think about the future and that this is just the beginning, and that there's nothing that we can't accomplish when we pull all of our differences together, not in spite of them, but when we pull them together and we work on something big for the good of everyone.
All right, next we have a question from Congressman Hal Rogers of Kentucky.
We're proud of you and proud of the tracking that's being done of your event at Morehead State University in eastern Kentucky. After emerging from the far side of the moon and seeing the entirety of the Earth through that small window, how has all of this impacted your determination for what America can accomplish in space?
Novo Nativa Spa Rosas Secretos. Pele assim é Nativa Spa.
Se eu ouvir sobre IA mais uma vez, eu vou ficar maluca. Até que a Monday.com apareceu. E eu fiquei tipo, agora sim. Meu time parou de ficar procurando em milhares de documentos diferentes. Agora o Monday Sidekick faz isso, separando e priorizando as informações de acordo com o que a gente precisa. Coisas que meu time passava horas fazendo, agora são feitas rapidinho. Eu uso para coletar insights e criar planos de ação o tempo todo, principalmente naqueles dias com uma reunião atrás da outra. Todas as ferramentas de IA ficam dentro da Monday.com e usam nossos próprios dados como base. Com a Monday.com, a IA não é um futuro inatingível. Ela está aqui e ela funciona. Estamos realmente economizando tempo e recursos. Comece hoje o seu teste grátis na Monday.com, a plataforma de trabalho que você vai adorar usar.
It reminds you, first, just being, right now we're 106,000 miles away from planet Earth still, and we'll be home tomorrow. Part of this is just scale. It is unbelievable to think that we could build a international team led by the United States of America and set our sights out on a sustained presence on the moon and onto Mars, and then we can go and achieve it. And I know we did this in Apollo, and it was absolutely amazing, but I will tell you, having been there, the four of us having been there just now, this is nothing short of a miracle. It is incredible that we can go out and do this, that we can play with gravity, that we can target around the moon, that we can send 4 humans in a spaceship 250,000 miles from home and bring them back. There is nothing this nation cannot do when it has a vision. It just has the capability to go out and get anything done we want to get done.
All right, next up we have Congresswoman Grace Meng of New York.
Hello to our crew. This is Grace Meng from Queens, New York. Thank you to the administrator and thank you to our trailblazing crew. My question is, thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Our entire country has been following your journey with pride, and we're incredibly grateful for your service. You've spent years in simulators at Johnson Space Center that recreated every vibration, system failure, cockpit light with high accuracy, and most of you have even been to the International Space Station. Now that you're almost home, what is the one thing that has surprised you about this mission that your training and prior space experience did not or could not prepare you for? And we can't wait to welcome you back to Earth. Thank you again.
Well, it's going to be a 2-for-1 deal because I definitely have to call out what Christina was talking about, seeing the far side of the moon, but eclipsed. And when it's eclipsed, the sun was, I know you saw some pictures, and the pictures look pretty close to what we saw, but it really was something. But the other thing, kind of, your question made me think about when you're talking about all the simulations. We simulate the first day of the mission a lot and the last day of the mission a lot. And near the end of the first day, we separate from the upper stage of the rocket, and then that's when we did the proximity ops where we flew around the upper stage as if we were docking to it. And in the simulator, you watch and you have all these things you're checking to see if you have actually separated from the vehicle. And if you haven't, you have a bunch of things you need to do because it's not good. And in space, it's nothing like that. We essentially got ejected off the top of that thing. We were all sitting in here waiting for that moment, and all of a sudden we're all pinned to the floor. Like, well, I guess we separated.
All right, next we have a question from Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona.
Hey guys, I know you're busy, so I don't want to take up much of your time here, but very proud of you. World's looking up because of you. You've reminded millions of people what a crew and a mission and a shared purpose can really do. So thank you for taking and carrying the hopes of a nation beyond the horizon. I think we really needed this at this point in our history. I really appreciate it. And Victor, since I'm in John McCain's Senate seat and you are a McCain alum, so this question is for you. Just curious, how fast are you going at EI? What kind of G profile are you going to be on? And how sporty of a ride do you expect it to be when those chutes open?
Oh, Mark, thank you. It's great to hear from you. Thank you for continued leadership and support and friendship. And the ride's been amazing. Jumping off the pad was awesome. And a lot of people think about rocket science and staging power versus weight. Well, slowing down from that speed takes just as much thought and practice. And so we're going to come into the atmosphere at about almost 40 times the speed of sound. And then we will slow down to a 20-mile-an-hour touchdown into the Pacific. But the G profile will actually be very similar to what it is on launch. We'll get up into the 3 Gs, just over 3 Gs on the way down for a normal entry. But if it was a ballistic, we could get up to as high as 9, 10 Gs, which is what you pull in a fighter jet. But we could be doing that for several minutes, for 8 or 9 minutes. And so the G profile is going to be pretty sporty. But when we touch down, the heat shield and the parachutes are going to get us nice and slow so that we touch down at a, what did I say, about a 20-mile-an-hour splashdown in the Pacific. And we can't wait to see the dive team and the Navy that are going to come and pick us up.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, next we have Senator Katie Britt of Alabama.
Hey, everybody. I know how proud we are in Alabama of the role that Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville has played in this incredible mission. So I can't even imagine how unbelievably proud your families are of you and how excited they are to see you soon and to welcome you back to Earth. So instead of a question, I want to let each of you just take the next minute to publicly address your children and the next generation of space explorers as history-making space flight, this mission enters its final hours. So thank you so much for your incredible service and your example.
Thank you very much for this question. We are in a maneuver right now, so I hope we don't lose the signal briefly, but we just heard the thrusters firing on the service module to reorient us. We have a return trajectory correction burn number 2 coming up in just a little while. But I just want to look at my daughters, Ellie and Katie, and just say I love you, and their support has been unbelievable. I don't think they knew what this mission really meant when we launched, but they have learned through the outpouring of public support, their friends' support, and family support. Really, the world has come together. We have seen it, and we have seen it through their eyes, too. And it has been a very proud moment for me as their father to see the joy in their expression and the way they email and communicate when we have private conferences. It's still on. For my 3 children, Devin, Ashley, and Caitlin, I think it's worth pointing out, I learn as much, maybe more from you than you learn from me. But the one thing I'd remind you, and I think is worth reminding ourselves and other youth, is that all you have to do on any given day is just get up and do your best and try to find joy in your day and try to contribute in a meaningful and positive way. And that's it. And I think we as humans, we put too much pressure on ourselves looking for perfection. And if you look at what we're doing out here, it is far from perfection, but we are getting it done.
Wait, that's us.
Empreendedor, tá perdidinho com essa nova reforma tributária, né? Mas calma, que aqui o sistema está sendo preparado para essa nova lei. Pare de sofrer com burocracias. Clique agora e garanta a sua gestão fiscal.
Genesis, Maya, Joya, and Corinne, as we are on our way back from this dream of a mission, your mom and I look forward to supporting you, chasing and catching your own dreams. We spent years coaching you, but we are very much in that transition to being cheerleaders and just rooting for you in life. And to the future citizens out there, the same sentiment applies. I hope this mission is giving you something that you can take and put in your pocket or in your heart and mind that you keep with you. But it's not because we want you to see what we've tried to show you. It's because we want you to take this and build a vocabulary to explain the world to us.
Wow. Wow, Victor. Why do I ever answer questions around you guys?
That was incredible.
That was incredible.
I'll take this second to say something to my 9 nieces and nephews, which is, I love you, and thank you for the amazing letters you wrote me, the amazing pictures you drew me. You had beautiful Earths and rockets, and they truly touched my mission, and I feel like you're here with me.
All right, next is Congressman Mike Herodopoulos of Florida.
Hi, crew. This is Congressman Mike Herodopoulos, and I represent Kennedy Space Center in Congress. And what a thrill to have watched you take off from Kennedy Space Center. It truly unified America. I have a question from one of our local voters here in Indian River County. Her name is Renee, and she said, what were you thinking when you were going around the moon, the furthest ever from Earth, on the dark side of the moon? We'd love to hear your thoughts as you made your way around the moon out of radio contact.
So during the time of the nearest approach to the moon, we were doing so much science. I took a brief moment to say a short prayer of gratitude for being sent on this mission and trusted with, bringing back scientifically relevant information. And I also just felt like I was hoping that people looked up and were watching to see when we came back into communication, and that maybe there was a chance that folks would feel a sense of togetherness. We have a moment of silence whenever something solemn and that requires reverence or someone that we love has passed away, but maybe we could call it a moment of togetherness. As we were in radio silence, I was really hoping that we could just have a sense. You heard the word togetherness a lot from our crew, and really was hoping that while we were waiting to get back in contact, that people could just feel that sense of togetherness, that we were all a crew on Spaceship Earth.
All right, our second to last question is from Congresswoman Valerie Foushee of North Carolina. This one's for Christina.
Good evening, Artemis II crew. Indeed, you are inspirational and you make us all proud Americans. I'm proud to represent the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics in Durham, North Carolina, where Dr. Cook attended high school. With Dr. Cook becoming the first woman and Captain Glover, the first person of color to travel this far into space, what message do all of you have for the next generation of explorers who may be seeing themselves in this mission for the first time?
Well, it's such an honor to speak with you and that you represent Durham. All of my family lives there, and they're all flying to Houston right now, hopefully to watch our splashdown. So Durham is very near and dear to my heart. There's a lot to say about that topic. I feel like for us, we don't necessarily see any one individual as, deserving of anything or accolades for being a first. What we see is something to celebrate, that we are in a time when everyone who has a dream has to work equally and gets to work equally hard to achieve that dream. And so my message to those people is, yes, it is wonderful to feel inspiration because you see yourself in someone. I had that growing up. You had that growing up. I think that the message, the takeaway would be, you don't have to focus on just being there. Focus on excellence. Focus on being the best that you can be in any team, in any mission, contributing to any endeavor. And that will get you not only the fulfillment and meaning of your life, but you'll contribute the most to the world.
Dude.
All right, and we have time for one final question. We'll send it over to Senator Ashley Moody of Florida.
Thank you so much.
And I know we started with Senator Cruz from Texas, and I love that we're ending with Florida Senator. It's such an honor where you launched. I was there for the launch of Artemis II. It was so exciting. Florida's been the beating heart of American space exploration for over 60 years. What would you say to the kids from Florida who were there that day watching the launch, really kids from Pensacola to Miami, who may want to follow in your footsteps one day as astronauts, or maybe work for NASA, or even in the space industry? What would you say to them?
I would say we are in the golden age of space exploration right now, thanks to the leadership of Jared Isaacman and our political leaders, many of whom are gathered here right now. We are getting it done. We have our sights set on the moon. We have our sights set on Mars. We have probes going out across the solar system, robotic precursor missions, the moon, Mars, moons of planets around our solar system. There's just limitless potential here. But I also want to just not single out people who are interested in spaceflight. I would say anything that you find a passion in, when it sparks your interest, there is no right answer for every human. It's in your soul. So Jeremy likes to say every one of us has a gift, and we need to share our gifts to be happy. And so if you want to be a vet, be a veterinarian. If you want to help people, be a nurse or a school teacher or a public servant, a police officer. There are so many things out there. And when you find that fire in your soul and you know what you're meant to do, just lean all in and go for it. And if some of you end up going and walking on Mars, the four of us, myself, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, we will be in the front row cheering you on loud and clear.
All right, we are out of time for today's event. That concludes the event. Thank you to everyone who was able to tune in, and thank you to our elected officials for joining us. Artemis II crew, we look forward to seeing you back home soon.
Integrity, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.
Thank you to all participants. Integrity, we are now resuming operational audio communication.
Receba seu pedido em até 3 dias. PlayStation, compre agora com entrega full. LG, compre agora com entrega full. Red Bull, compre agora com entrega full. Na Shopee, compensa mais.
E aí, como estão suas vendas? Tá faturando? Com o Tom, você vende com Pix direto na maquininha. Ela vem com chip de internet incluso e bobina grátis. Venda o dia inteiro com o Tom. Aproveite o descontão na maquininha.
Se prepara para a transição de volta à Terra e nos preparamos para o dia de entrada. Após um dia emocionante de ciência na segunda-feira e um dia para a tripulação se recuperar e atingir alguns outros objetivos de voo ontem, a equipe está voltando sua atenção para o retorno e para levar a tripulação para casa em segurança. Agora, como este é um voo de desenvolvimento e estamos pensando sobre o que ainda podemos aprender nos dias restantes para entender melhor os sistemas e informar futuras missões. E ainda estamos recebendo muitas imagens da espaçonave e da tripulação. Eu queria compartilhar alguns destaques das imagens de hoje. A tripulação conseguiu enviar uma foto de grupo, e é ótimo ver menos Lost se saindo tão bem e com tanto ânimo. E estou feliz em ver Rice ali na frente no centro com a equipe. Já ansiamo pela volta desses rostos sorridentes. Agora, a tripulação também tirou uma imagem ontem da Via Láctea, que é impressionante. E livre de interferência atmosférica, a tripulação conseguiu ver a faixa brilhante de estrelas e filamentos. Uma visão clara de nossa galáxia natal. Então, eu também queria destacar algumas coisas adicionais que estamos aprendendo por meio deste teste, que estão alimentando diretamente nossas próximas missões, incluindo o Artemis II. Agora, na área de ciências, além das atividades científicas lunares que vimos na segunda-feira, nossas outras atividades científicas e de carga útil continuam a progredir conforme planejado no Marshall Space Flight Center em Huntsville, Alabama. Nossa divisão de operações de missão e carga útil está operando nosso avatar imunológico e também o experimento de biomarcadores imunológicos, bem como as atividades de medição padrão. E essas atividades realmente nos ajudarão a entender como o ambiente do espaço profundo afeta os astronautas durante as missões Artemis. Os experimentos sobre saúde humana nos fornecerão dados de que precisamos para poder viver na Lua por mais tempo. À medida que desenvolvemos a base lunar e nos preparamos para viagens mais longas, como ir a Marte, durante Apolo, eles não coletaram esse tipo de dados de saúde humana e não podemos obter essas informações durante missões de órbita terrestre baixa. Então, em termos de desempenho do hardware, como vimos do administrador ontem, o lançador móvel está em boas condições no geral. E embora precisemos consertar algumas coisas, ter um lançador móvel em boas condições realmente garante que estaremos prontos para começar a empilhar o veículo a MBIS-3 de acordo com o cronograma que dá suporte ao lançamento dessa missão no ano que vem. Você ouviu anteriormente que o desempenho do SLS foi tão bom e perfeito quanto esperávamos. E a equipe do SLS já começou a analisar todos esses dados para análises detalhadas pós-voo, para ver se algum refinamento precisa ser feito daqui para frente. E os dados que estamos obtendo das demonstrações de pilotagem manual do Orion, incluindo a demonstração de operações de proximidade que tivemos após o lançamento, são essenciais para garantir que possamos atracar com módulos de pouso humanos durante o Artemis III e além. E ouvimos em tempo real de Victor durante a demonstração do ProXops o quão preciso o manuseio parece ter sido, e as outras demonstrações estão nos fornecendo ainda mais dados. Temos lições que abordaremos antes do Artemis III, incluindo algumas de nossas operações de válvulas de águas, ou a ventilação de águas residuais, sobre as quais você já ouviu falar bastante, bem como as operações de montagem de controle de pressão do módulo de serviço. E também estamos aprendendo sobre quanto tempo algumas das atividades dentro da cabine devem levar. Nossa demonstração do traje de vários dias atrás forneceu insights úteis para futuras operações de emergência da tripulação do traje, caso precisemos delas. Também optamos por a proteção contra a radiação ou partes dela na demonstração, para dar mais tempo para a transição da cabine, para se preparar para a entrada. E Rick falará um pouco mais sobre isso. E esses aprendizados estão nos ajudando a nos preparar para a nossa próxima missão. E quando a missão vai bem, pode parecer que voar para a Lua é fácil. Certamente não é. Não podemos esquecer que este é um voo de teste, e estamos levando tudo o que estamos aprendendo adiante para dar suporte à próxima missão. Esta tem sido uma boa missão até agora, e estamos chegando ao fim, tendo eliminado um número significativo de riscos nos últimos dias. Mas a equipe permanece focada, e estamos nos certificando de não tirar os olhos da bola. E inúmeras horas de pessoas trabalhando juntas nos bastidores têm se preparado para esses momentos, e as pessoas ainda estão dando tudo de si para garantir o sucesso da missão. Continuamos a melhorar para tornar realidade os nossos objetivos finais de ir à superfície lunar, construir a base lunar e, eventualmente, enviar os primeiros humanos a Marte. Por isso, agradeço o vosso interesse contínuo. Portanto, deixo com o Rick a atualização sobre as operações enquanto preparamos o retorno da tripulação.
Obrigado, Luke. Então, desde a última vez que nos reunimos, várias atividades foram concluídas ontem à noite, bem como hoje. A nossa atividade principal ontem à noite foi realizar a nossa primeira manobra de correção de trajetória de retorno, RTC número 1. Foi a 1,6 pés por segundo, durou 15 segundos e utilizou os propulsores do sistema de controle de reação do módulo de serviço. A queima foi iniciada às 20h03, hora da costa leste, ontem à noite. Até hoje, conseguimos colocar a tripulação nas suas roupas de intolerância ortostática. Essas são vestimentas especiais projetadas para ajudar a garantir o fluxo sanguíneo adequado para os membros da tripulação quando eles retornam ao polo gravitacional da Terra. Era importante conseguir experimentar isso hoje para que a tripulação entendesse como é vestir isso no dia da chegada. Também conseguimos transmitir com sucesso um vídeo 4K usando o sistema de comunicação óptica, que a provar ser uma ferramenta extremamente valiosa em nossos voos espaciais além da órbita terrestre. A tripulação também realizou algumas gravações para sua atividade de carga útil da National Geographic. Eles fizeram alguns eventos de pouso e mais tarde esta noite faremos algumas demonstrações de pilotagem manual. Uma delas será usar a câmera de acoplamento para apontar a nave espacial em direção a um corpo celeste. E o corpo celeste que usaremos para essa atividade é Arcturus. Após a conclusão dessa atividade, faremos outra demonstração de pilotagem manual, na qual a tripulação centraliza a Terra no campo de visão de uma das janelas e, em seguida, fará a nave espacial voar até uma posição em que a cauda aponte para o Sol. Isso é importante para mostrar que a tripulação de voo pode manobrar a nave espacial para obter e gerar energia, de modo que possa continuar a fornecer energia aos subsistemas a bordo. Por fim, terminaremos com uma parte da demonstração do abrigo contra a radiação, da qual Lakeisha falou. Sendo assim, a demonstração do abrigo contra a radiação foi principalmente uma atividade de arrumação, mas tivemos que remover um monte de coisas de alguns armários e mostrar que poderíamos colocar um membro da tripulação para se abrigar naquele armário. Embora não precisemos mais praticar a movimentação de objetos, teremos bastante isso nos dias de voo 9 e 10. Era importante mostrar que poderíamos fornecer ventilação adequada aos astronautas, se eles fossem se abrigar naquele espaço. Então, a maneira como forneceremos boa ventilação é através do umbilical do traje. Então, quando os membros da tripulação colocam seus trajes de lançamento, entrada para entrada, um dos umbilicais que eles fizeram é para fluxo de ar. E nós reutilizaríamos esse umbilical e mostra que poderíamos fornecer fluxo de ar adequado aos astronautas quando eles estivessem em um espaço um tanto confinado no compartimento de armazenamento. Assim que terminarmos as atividades de hoje, o foco realmente mudará para a entrada. E acho que o primeiro gráfico é importante para mostrar aqui, para alguns desses eventos críticos. Você sabe que a primeira coisa que realmente teremos que ficar de olho é a separação do módulo da tripulação e do módulo de serviço. Isso vai acontecer cerca de 20 minutos antes da interface de entrada. Assim que passarmos pela separação do módulo de serviço, faremos uma queima final no mês. Queima de elevação do módulo de tripulação. Normalmente, essa não é uma queima necessária, mas é nossa oportunidade final de ajustar o ângulo da trajetória de voo antes da interface de entrada. Então faremos isso cerca de 16 minutos e meio antes da interface de entrada. Assim que a queima for concluída, a espaçonave fará algumas manobras de rolamento. Isso fornecerá separação adicional entre o módulo de serviço, que está se dirigindo para uma entrada destrutiva na atmosfera terrestre, e o módulo da tripulação, que obviamente contém nossos 4 astronautas. Assim que as rolagens forem concluídas, a tripulação abaixará os visores e eles ficarão em um ambiente isolado em seus trajes de lançamento e entrada até depois do pouso. Atingiremos a interface de entrada a 400 mil pés, a cerca de 1.950 milhas de distância do nosso local de pouso. É quando a diversão realmente começa. 24 segundos após a interface de entrada, atingiremos o blackout out, que é o ponto em que o plasma se acumula ao redor da espaçonave a ponto de interferir na capacidade dos transmissores da Orion de transmitir telemetria. Isso é nominal, durará 6 minutos. Depois que o blackout de 6 minutos terminar, a Orion estará a cerca de 150 mil pés. Ainda caindo bem rápido, estaremos a algumas dezenas de milhas do local de pouso nesse ponto. E então nosso foco mudará para abrir os paraquedas. Temos 2 paraquedas auxiliares que serão abertos. Terão cerca de 22 mil pés. Isso nos reduzirá a velocidade para cerca de 200 por hora. E então lançaremos ou abriremos os 3 paraquedas principais. Esses são os paraquedas laranja que você vê na imagem. Isso acontecerá a cerca de 6 mil pés de altitude, o que reduzirá a velocidade da espaçonave e seus 4 ocupantes para uma queda suave de 20 miles por hora no Oceano Pacífico. A nave espacial será desligada cerca de 15 minutos após o pouso e então passarei a palavra para Lili Villarreal, nossa diretora de recuperação, para a autoridade da missão. Vamos para o próximo gráfico, que tem um pouco mais de detalhes sobre alguns desses eventos. Aqui está um gráfico de como será a entrada. Você pode ver que são apenas 3 minutos da interface de entrada até o pouso. Então vai acontecer bem rápido e a equipe de controle de voo aqui em Houston ficaremos sem comunicação com a tripulação de voo por 6 desses minutos. Olha, então isso vai começar muito rápido, vai terminar bem, muito mais depressa ainda. Ainda mais rápido. Próxima parte. Então é para um gráfico de todos os paraquedas que vão abrir. A primeira coisa, antes de abrirmos os paraquedas antidrogas, temos que descartar algo chamado cobertura da baía dianteira. Ela fornece proteção para todos os paraquedas. E é isso que vai ser descartado a cerca de 35 mil pés. Há uma janela para o descarte da cobertura da baía dianteira. Então, se não acontecer a 35 mil, pode acontecer mais baixo até 24 e nominalmente esperamos que aconteça mais perto de 24 mil pés. Próxima parte. Então, se você estiver procurando por um pouco de insight sobre nossa trajetória de aproximação, teremos uma interface de entrada um pouco a sudeste do Havaí. E depois de voarmos a 1957 milhas sobre a superfície do Oceano Pacífico, pousaremos em nosso local de pouso planejado na costa da Califórnia. Acho que é tudo que tenho para grafismo, então vou passar a palavra para Deb.
Tudo bem. Obrigado, Rick. Então, sim, estou feliz por estar de volta hoje. Posso informar que os sistemas Orion estão operando nominalmente. Permanecem saudáveis e estamos apenas voltando para a casa da Lua. Estou muito animado por estar apenas alguns dias a acontecer. Queria falar um pouco sobre algo que vocês talvez ainda não tenham visto e mostrar o primeiro gráfico completo. É um vídeo curto. Nossa equipe de engenharia dá suporte à missão a partir de uma instalação chamada Sala de Avaliação da Missão. É a Mirra. E essas são fotos da nossa equipe. Há 24 consoles separados. Então, isso é diferente da sala de controle de voo que você vê muito na TV da NASA. Esta é a nossa experiência em engenharia que dá suporte à equipe de controle de voo do Rick. Então, eles estão no console desde cerca de 48 horas antes do lançamento, monitorando de perto todos os sistemas, analisando todos os dados, modificando procedimentos conforme necessário e, em seguida, apenas observando como os sistemas estão funcionando. Então, compartilhando conhecimentos técnicos aprofundados com essa equipe. Então, isso também está localizado aqui no prédio 30, no centro de controle da missão. Então, essa é a nossa equipe MER, trabalhando duro 24 horas por dia, dando suporte à espaçonave. O segundo gráfico que tem é de alguns dias atrás. Mostrei a vocês algumas imagens do módulo da tripulação que obtivemos em nossa primeira inspeção externa, que foi logo após a queima do TLI. Na verdade, fizemos outra inspeção externa no caminho para casa. Esta é a nossa inspeção externa de entrada. Acho que podemos ir para o próximo slide. Sim. Essas são duas visões diferentes da espaçonave. Novamente, fizemos uma revisão abrangente de todas as imagens que obtivemos da superfície do módulo da tripulação. Nenhuma preocupação, nenhum problema que nos fizesse parar para a fase de reentrada. Tudo está em excelentes condições para essa entrada. Então, esse é o nosso lindo módulo da tripulação. Acho que temos algumas fotos do módulo de serviço também. Sim, obviamente não levamos o módulo de serviço para casa, como mencionamos. Ele se separa cerca de 40 minutos antes do pouso, mas obtivemos algumas imagens legais. E a próxima eu achei interessante, é uma foto dos painéis solares, mas na verdade é a parte de trás deles que normalmente não vemos. De qualquer forma, examinei todas essas imagens e tudo parece muito bom para o retorno. Em termos de operações, há algumas outras coisas acontecendo na cabine. Um teste interessante que estamos fazendo hoje é quando você pressuriza a cabine, os painéis e as coisas que estão conectadas ali meio que se movem um pouco. E então estamos fazendo uma demonstração de como você pode remover alguns feixes desses painéis e colocar menos luz de volta. Existe alinhamento suficiente entre as estruturas para fazer isso. Isso é para nos ajudar a provar se precisamos fazer algum tipo de manutenção ou acesso de contingência ao nosso sistema ELAS. Então, vamos dar uma olhada nisso hoje para ver se essa demonstração funciona bem. Também estamos fazendo uma demonstração do que é chamado de dead bending, de 20 por 20 graus. Isso está apontando a nave espacial um pouco diferente ao longo do dia para testar a resposta térmica dos sistemas externamente, para ver se podemos expandir nosso envelope operacional para missões futuras. Então, acho que tem mais algumas coisas. Coletamos muitos dados nesta missão. Receberemos muitos desses dados quando eles voltarem, mas gostaríamos de mencionar algumas coisas. Consumimos 2.964 libras de combustível no módulo de serviço. Temos 4.285 para fazer. Então, claramente, colocamos uma grande margem nesta missão para garantir que poderíamos voar menos lá corretamente. 9.885 comandos foram enviados. Então, a equipe de controle de voo e a equipe de MER estiveram ocupadas fazendo tudo isso. Então, mencionamos a comunicação óptica e quão eficaz ela tem sido na obtenção de dados. 122 GB de dados baixados. Esse foi um recorde em um único dia. Isso foi hoje. E um total de mais de 312 GB de dados chegando naquele sistema de comunicação óptica. Isso foi muito útil para nós, pois conseguimos capturar algumas dessas belas imagens. A cabine está atualmente a 76 graus Fahrenheit, então a tripulação está bem confortável. Tudo parece muito bem. E acho que é isso para mim. As naves espaciais continuam operando normalmente e estamos trabalhando duro para monitorar menos lá até que chegue em casa. Com isso, passo a palavra para a Lily.
Olá, boa tarde.
Só para ter certeza de que vocês conseguem me ouvir primeiro. Nós ouvimos você, Lily. Ótimo. Obrigado por se juntarem a nós hoje. Estou no mar a bordo do USS Johnny Murta com a equipe conjunta da NASA e militar que está pronta para resgatar a tripulação com segurança assim que eles pousarem na costa da Califórnia. O navio partiu da base naval de San Diego no horário e estamos manobrando o navio para a zona de pouso. Nos últimos dias, concluímos os preparativos finais do navio, incluindo treinamento com a equipe militar conjunta da NASA e Miller para atualizar as habilidades e procedimentos que praticamos durante o teste de recuperação em andamento. Quero explicar rapidamente o processo de como recuperaremos com segurança a tripulação da Artemis II e a nave espacial Orion assim que retornarem da viagem ao redor da Lua. A nave e os pequenos barcos serão posicionados a uma distância segura no splashdown até que a equipe determine que o caminho de viagem estará livre de qualquer equipamento de descarte mencionado por Rick. No splashdown, a tripulação em Houston seguirá seus procedimentos pós-pouso, enquanto nossos mergulhadores manterão uma distância de cerca de 120 jardas da cápsula assim que tivermos autorização para ir até ela. Após a transferência do diretor de voo para o diretor de recuperação do pouso, os mergulhadores se aproximarão da Orion e farão avaliações do ar e da água ao redor da cápsula apenas para garantir que é seguro se aproximar e ajudar a tripulação a sair da Orion. Após garantir que a área é segura, eles seguirão em frente e abrirão a escotilha da Orion e ajudarão os astronautas a saírem de seus assentos para um grande bote inflável que chamamos de varanda da frente. Assim que os 4 astronautas estiverem na varanda da frente, rebocaremos a cápsula para longe da varanda da frente e a equipe aguardará para ser resgatada pelos helicópteros da Marinha que são enviados do navio de resgate. 2 helicópteros se resgataram os 4 tripulantes antes que eles retornem ao navio de resgate com alguns minutos de diferença. Assim que a tripulação sair dos helicópteros, eles seguirão para a baía médica do navio para passar por exames médicos de rotina após voo. Esperamos resgatar a tripulação e levar menos lá à baía médica em até 2 horas após o pouso. Com a tripulação fora da cápsula e encaminhada para as equipes de resgate, trabalharemos para rebocar o Orion para o convés do navio usando procedimentos muito semelhantes aos usados no Artemis II assim que tivermos o Orion dentro em segurança e todos os pequenos barcos estiverem de volta ao navio, começaremos nosso retorno à base naval de San Diego. Dependendo da distância, até lá a tripulação do Artemis II voará do navio de volta para a costa. Prevemos um prazo de 12 a 24 horas após o pouso. Antes de encerrar meus comentários, gostaria de agradecer aos nossos parceiros militares do ZEUA que estão apoiando nossos esforços de recuperação da Artemis. Sem eles, não poderíamos fazer o que estamos fazendo. Tivemos uma recuperação muito bem sucedida na nave espacial Orion não tripulada durante a missão Artemis I e estamos confiantes de que, por meio de nossos testes e treinamento, junto com a Marinha e outros colaboradores, faremos com que a Artemis 26 seja bem sucedida. Com isso, obrigado e passo a palavra para Rachel. Ok, agora é a hora de perguntas. Aceitaremos perguntas aqui na sala e na ponte telefônica. Um lembrete para aqueles que estão entrando por telefone. Pressionem asterisco 1 para entrar na fila de perguntas. Limitem suas perguntas a 1. E, especialmente com Lily se juntando a nós remotamente, informem para quem é a sua pergunta. Vamos começar aqui com Jack.
Oi, Jack Waddle, CNN. Uma pergunta rápida para Rich. Você pode nos explicar? Entendo que a trajetória de pouso foi planejada especificamente, mas há alguma trajetória de contingência que você também esteja preparado para fazer caso algo esteja fora do normal? E então eu também adoraria esclarecer exatamente quais forças G os astronautas esperam experimentar, seja em uma situação nominal ou fora do normal. Muito obrigado.
Sim, boas perguntas. Começarei com a mais direta, com as cargas G para um pouso nominal na costa de San Diego. Estamos esperando 3,9 G. Mas temos uma série de trajetórias de contingência que nos levariam mais para cima ou mais longe do nosso local de pouso pretendido. Temos... E quando essas contingências são selecionadas com base na gravidade do problema, então meio que nos aprofundamos cada vez mais na gravidade do problema, o que exige que pousemos cada vez mais perto ou cada vez mais longe dos locais de pouso. Se seguirmos uma dessas trajetórias de contingência, você poderá ver carga G de até 7 ou 7,5 G assim.
Certo, vamos com o Josh aqui.
Olá, Josh.com. Que tipo de dados são perdidos ao pular o teste de proteção contra a radiação? E qual é o impacto de não poder praticar esses procedimentos além da órbita abaixo da Terra até a missão de pouso lunar na Artemis II? Então, eu vejo o abrigo contra a radiação como não sendo realmente um conjunto de dados perdidos. Nós, conforme avaliamos o cronograma para o restante da missão, descobrimos que ainda havia uma oportunidade de testar o fluxo de ar do umbilical do traje, que é, sem dúvida, na minha opinião, a parte mais importante dessa demonstração, porque o abrigo contra a radiação era uma área na espaçonave que fica bem no fundo de um dos de armazenamento. E então a parte da demonstração que não vamos praticar é a remoção dos objetos do armário de arrumação, o que é algo que você sabe que não precisamos necessariamente demonstrar como parte desse teste específico. Sabemos como remover os objetos. O mais importante é garantir que possamos fornecer um ambiente habitável quando o membro da tripulação estiver no armário, e o fluxo de ar é essencial para isso. Se você estiver em gravidade zero, poderá desenvolver bolsas de dióxido de carbono se não tiver fluxo de ar suficiente, porque não há convecção para movimentar o ar quando você está respirando. E você acaba tendo uma espécie de bolsa de CO2 se formando ao redor do seu rosto. Então, o fluxo de ar é a parte mais importante dessa demonstração e encontramos uma maneira de atingir esse objetivo.
E talvez eu devesse acrescentar que a parte de armazenamento disso é bastante praticada na maquete aqui no prédio 9, então a parte que você pode realmente fazer num G, eles praticaram muitas e muitas vezes. Então, sinta-se confiante que funcionará. Só acrescentarei que ainda obteremos dados com relação à radiação, bem como os dados do avatar, onde estamos obtendo os efeitos da radiação em chips de tecido das tripulações. Então, em termos de melhor compreensão real do impacto da radiação, ainda obteremos dados associados a isso. Ok, passaremos aqui para Eric Berger e depois para Marcia.
Eric Berger, nossa pergunta técnica para Deb, eu acho. Você mencionou a pesquisa externa, não houve preocupações, nenhum problema que nos fizesse hesitar. Digamos que num evento muito inesperado, houvesse algum dano sério no MMOD, você sabe, na borda do escudo térmico que você podia ver, ou com a espaçonave. Quer dizer, acho que sei a resposta para isso, mas qual é o plano de contingência para que não haja um mini?
Quer dizer, não estamos olhando para o escudo térmico. Obviamente, isso ainda é coberto pelo módulo de serviço, então este é apenas seu sistema de proteção térmica. Meu entendimento é que modificaríamos nosso perfil de voo para tentar acomodar isso, mas não sei. Não conseguimos resolver o problema de hardware. Não há como consertar. Por exemplo,
eu acrescentaria que, dependendo da natureza do dano, se isso fosse algo que temos que considerar, você pode avaliar os vários perfis de voo, o perfil de pouso balístico, as cargas gerenciadas e pode tentar escolher um que seja o menos estressante se houver algo preocupante. Mas como Debbie disse, fizemos a pesquisa e não há nada com que se preocupar na entrada.
Marcia Dunn, Associated Press. Para você, Rick, qual é a velocidade máxima de retorno? Não vai bater um recorde? Acho que você nos prometeu isso.
Sim, prometo.
E quando e como a cápsula retornará para a Flórida?
Então, quanto à velocidade, a nossa previsão para Artemis II é que atingiremos uma velocidade máxima de 34 pés por segundo. E isso é o menos que o recorde da Apollo 10 de 36.397.
a resposta sobre como ela retornará para a Flórida, nós a levaremos em caminhão. Então, ela passará por algum condicionamento assim que retornar a San Diego. Algumas inspeções rápidas e outras coisas que fazemos lá, mas imediatamente, o mais rápido que pudermos, a colocamos em um caminhão e a levamos de volta para a Flórida e começaremos a volta para as instalações e fazer a manutenção lá. Está perto de 2 ou 2 semanas.
Mark Carroll da Aviation Week. As imagens externas que você mostrou foram as que foram tiradas ontem de manhã.
Sim, essa foi nossa inspeção de entrada. Então, sim, essas foram as fotos mais recentes. Ok, pode prosseguir.
Mark Carpenter. Só quero me aprofundar principalmente com o Rick, eu acho, na experiência da tripulação na entrada. Eles ficaram de cabeça baixa na interface de entrada. Existe algum prêmio em inclinação? E também, se você puder falar mais sobre os espigões de Sam, pelo que entendi, eles fazem isso Primeiro, deve haver um espigão. Deve haver um espigão e depois ao outro quando você desce no segundo lado dele. Então, só mais um acréscimo a isso é se algum DTOS, alguma entrada de controle manual, algum PTI ou algo assim que será feito neste período de tempo. Pois é, foi certo. A tripulação, incluindo eu, estaremos com a cabeça baixa. Isso lhes dá uma visão do horizonte quando entram. Se estivéssemos em uma atitude diferente, você não teria esse horizonte como referência. Sim, há 2 espigões diferentes nas ilustrações, mas, novamente, o máximo é 3,9. Aproxime-se de 2 X, similares de 3,9 durante a entrada e as reversões de RO. Antes do banco, temos que rolar para capturar a atmosfera logo na interface de entrada, mas estamos prevendo 5 dessas inversões de papéis no caminho para baixo.
Jonathan
Sear, da Fox News. Em continuação a isso, estamos falando sobre os dias que a tripulação do Artemis experimenta. Como isso se compara às tripulações que retornam da LEO, digamos, em uma tripulação Dragon em termos de X e também duração da reentrada?
É uma ótima pergunta. Eu odio especular sobre os números G, então talvez pudéssemos entrar em contato com você depois e dar números precisos em vez de eu especular.
Ok, aceitaremos algumas perguntas por telefone. A primeira é de Lauren Grush, da Bloomberg.
Oi, muito obrigada por responder a minha pergunta. Gostaria de saber se você pode nos explicar as restrições climáticas para o local de pouso aéreo se existirem. E só para esclarecer, acho que gostaria de saber quais são as variáveis que você pode alterar com este splashdown, se houver algum tipo de problema técnico descoberto antes da reentrada e o que você pode alterar. Muito obrigada.
Então, para as restrições climáticas do splashdown, estamos observando principalmente as condições do vento. Estamos observando algumas das condições das ondas. Estamos observando precipitação e tempestades. E, no momento, nossa previsão para o local de pouso é de ventos de sudoeste, 10, ondas menores que 4 pés, ondas de 17 segundos, com período de ondas. Estamos observando aquela frente fria que mencionei nos últimos dias. Ela desacelerou, também enfraqueceu por natureza. E então a precipitação que estávamos observando está prevista para ser maior que 60 milhas do local pretendido para o splashdown. Então, temos algumas condições realmente favoráveis. Deve ser um dia muito agradável durante o dia em San Diego. Essa frente fria vai passar depois do pouso, mas parece que teremos algumas condições favoráveis para um bom pouso na sexta-feira. E havia outra pergunta, eu acho. Qual é a outra?
Quais variáveis você pode afetar?
Isso mesmo. Sim. Então, no que diz respeito às variáveis que afetam o pouso, os modos de descida, nós chamamos de modos de descida. Se você tiver uma contingência, estamos realmente analisando coisas que afetam a orientação, navegação e controle e os sistemas de propulsão. Então, queremos garantir que a espaçonave ainda possa voar para casa com segurança. Então, temos algumas maneiras de alterar o pouso que encurta nosso perfil de entrada. Nós pousamos mais acima. Mas se forem modos certificados de orientação, navegação e controle de espaçonaves, isso garantirá um pouso seguro com contingências de condições de falha múltipla.
Ok, agora vamos ficar com o telefone. Temos Ken Chang, do New York Times.
Olá, cara. Esta é outra pergunta para vir. Que você perde por não fazer uma reentrada com salto? Isso reduz a flexibilidade de onde você pode pousar.
De uma perspectiva operacional, é esse alcance reduzido com o qual podemos avaliar as condições climáticas, mas não sei se Deb tem algo a acrescentar sobre o desempenho do escudo térmico.
Bem, acho que fizemos muitas investigações depois do Artemis I, fizemos o salto completo para entender como o resto do veículo se comporta e fizemos um extenso programa de testes em solo para entender como esse escudo térmico se comporta, então podemos expandir isso para um salto maior, uma entrada real com salto, começando com o Artemis III. Esta é apenas uma parte do nosso programa de voo de teste para obter a capacidade total para obter. Eu não diria que estamos perdendo nada ao optar pela entrada suspensa neste voo. Sabíamos disso e criamos um programa de teste em solo para obter a entrada completa sem proteção no futuro. Faremos mais uma por telefone e depois voltaremos para a sala. Próxima pergunta é de Nell Greenfield Boyce, da NPR.
Obrigada. Estou perguntando um pouco mais sobre a inspeção de reentrada. Então, parece que os protetores térmicos realmente ficaram meio que bem cobertos. Então, eu queria saber o que vocês realmente estão procurando na inspeção. Vocês disseram que tudo parecia bem, mas eu queria saber o que não estaria bem. E também queria saber se temos algum dado sobre o protetor térmico que não pode ser visto. Não sei o que seria, suponho que não, mas estou apenas perguntando se há algo conhecido sobre o que está acontecendo nas partes cobertas. Obrigada.
Sim, então a inspeção que fizemos foi principalmente para as conchas traseiras, e acho que são cerca de 1.300 peças diferentes da concha traseira que são cobertas com essa fita C, na maioria dos casos. E estamos apenas observando se vemos algum dano notável que possa nos causar uma preocupação, que nos faça querer mudar a forma como fazemos nosso perfil de reentrada, a forma. As peças em si são muito robustas e têm grandes níveis de margem, portanto, podemos acomodar alguns danos do MMOD sem comprometer o veículo. Então, estamos apenas tentando avaliar se vemos algo que estaria além do que achamos que podemos acomodar e realmente não vimos nada. Então, em termos de proteção térmica, não estamos obtendo dados sobre isso no momento. Você sabe, isso foi coberto pelo módulo de serviço, então não obteremos nenhum dado sobre isso até chegarmos à fase de separação.
Fio Bill Har com CBS. Uma pergunta para Lily. Lily ainda está na linha?
Sim.
Você pode repassar a sequência de retirada da tripulação? Em outras palavras, qual astronauta sai primeiro? Vocês alternam um em um helicóptero, um no outro e depois alternam de volta? Você pode nos dizer quem sai primeiro, quem sai por último e como eles sequenciam os helicópteros? Obrigado.
O plano nominal é abrir a escotilha e o primeiro médico entrará e avaliará a tripulação imediatamente. E então ele ajudará o primeiro membro da tripulação no assento 3, que na verdade é Jeremy. Depois o segundo médico entra e vai assistir Reed de imediato. E então teremos os dois médicos de acompanhamento junto com o oficial médico da Marinha. O oficial médico da Marinha entrará e cuidará de Victor e Cristina. Assim que eles avaliarem que tá tudo bem, o plano é sair primeiro de Cristina, depois Victor, depois Jeremy e depois Reed. É óbvio que, havendo alguma emergência médica que exige atenção, o médico tem o poder de evacuar a pessoa mais afetada em primeira instância, se for preciso. E essa é basicamente a sequência que também pegaremos de helicóptero.
Iremos com isso.
Obrigado. Will Robson Smith, da Space Flight Now. Obrigado a todos por reservarem um tempo. Pergunta para Rick. Você mencionou os eventos restantes de pilotagem manual que ainda faltam. Você pode falar sobre quais membros da tripulação farão o quê? E então, só uma rápida para Luquecha. Ouvimos a tripulação durante cada um dos briefings de planejamento da tripulação falar sobre as luzes no experimento Avatar. Algumas estão acesas, outras apagadas. Você pode explicar o que significa uma luz apagada?
Quanto à demonstração de pilotagem manual esta tarde, todos os 4 tripulantes estão escalados para o evento e, pelo que me lembro antes do voo, Reed realmente queria garantir que esta nave espacial pudesse ser pilotada por pilotos e não pilotos. Então, espero que todos tenham a oportunidade de pilotar a nave espacial para que possamos entender as capacidades de manuseio da Orion K1, tanto da perspectiva de um piloto quanto de um não piloto, porque ao demonstrar que a Orion é capaz de ser pilotada por pilotos e não pilotos, você abre as portas para uma gama maior de futuras seleções de astronautas e atribuições de tripulação de voo, porque você não precisa mais ficar preso à presença de um piloto de teste nos assentos de comandante e piloto. Você pode realmente permitir que qualquer pessoa do corpo de astronautas ajude a pilotar a nave espacial.
Sim, para sua pergunta sobre Avatar, arranjaremos alguém para lhe dar uma resposta específica sobre as luzes acesas e apagadas. Mas esse é um sistema autônomo, mano. Ele ainda tem boa energia e continua funcionando. Ele relatou que ainda está funcionando como deveria, certo? Então, estamos ansiosos para retirar menos lados da nave para obter os dados no final da missão.
Olá, meu nome é Ed Lavender, da CNN. Obrigado por reservar um tempo hoje. Você pode falar sobre, e essa pode ser uma pergunta para Lilian Reed, quantos de aeronaves estão observando a cápsula enquanto ela retorna para a reentrada. E esse número é padrão ou é mais, porque essa é a primeira vez que há uma tripulação nesta reentrada específica da cápsula.
Lily, se quer responder essa? Acho que você provavelmente seria mais indicada para responder.
Acho que tá bom. Obrigada. E Debbie pode confirmar que haverá pelo menos 7 aeronaves diferentes, aeronaves de ficção científica em altitudes diferentes, capturando imagens do veículo. E Debbie, corrija-me se eu estiver errado.
Não, você está correta. E é muito mais do que tínhamos no Artemis 1. Adicionamos mais alguns recursos aéreos para capturar mais imagens enquanto o veículo está descendo.
Então, além dos aviões Sapphire, usaremos 2 helicópteros militares da Marinha MH-600 com nossos próprios estabilizadores. Eles estarão em altitudes diferentes, que estarão muito mais perto do momento do mergulho, capturando imagens do mergulho até o som do respingo. Se por algum motivo tivermos nuvens, também teremos estabilizadores adicionais na proa do navio para poder capturar o pouso, para poder capturar bem quando ele acontecer bem na frente do navio para nós.
Pode prosseguir. Olá, André Linfelder do Houston Chronicle. Sabe, eu queria falar um pouco mais sobre este ser um voo de teste. Falamos muito sobre o vaso sanitário, mas você pode nos dar mais informações sobre a válvula de água e os problemas do módulo de serviço que você espera aprender? Claro. Acho que no início da missão falamos sobre uma válvula de água na válvula de ligar, barra de ligar água no sistema de água portátil que foi fechado inadvertidamente. E como ela está no módulo de serviço, não receberemos o módulo de serviço de volta. Então, planejamos um pequeno teste para fazer. Acho que será mais tarde hoje. O cronograma está mudando um pouco. Mas para fazer alguma abertura e fechamento adicionais de diferentes válvulas naquele sistema para aprender mais sobre esses comportamentos, sempre levando em consideração que nunca corremos o risco de não ter água disponível. Então, na verdade, estamos fazendo isso agora pensando que é mais pro final da missão para garantir que temos toda a água necessária e que não temos mais acesso ao sistema necessário. Então, essa é uma das coisas que estamos fazendo para aprender sobre as válvulas nesse sistema, já que nós receberemos o módulo de serviço de volta. Irene Klotz, da Aviation Week, para Debbie. Você pode discutir um pouco sobre a aplicabilidade dos dados que serão coletados, sobre o desgaste do escudo térmico na Artemis III e na Artemis II? Para os escudos térmicos que estão sendo trocados, especialmente para a Artemis IV e também para a 3, já que ela não retornará de uma órbita lunar. Qual é o valor dessa informação agora? Sim, não tenho certeza se estou preparado para falar com vocês sobre Artemis 3. Se vocês sabem o valor dos dados da Artemis 2, estamos voando em um perfil diferente, mas temos voando em um perfil diferente, mas temos o que esperamos ver naquele escudo térmico com base naquele perfil e em nossos... Então, muitos desses dados que obtemos são para validar os modelos e os testes que vimos em solo para garantir que somos capazes de recriar o comportamento em testes em solo. Então, podemos usar essas recriações em solo para realmente testar o que queremos fazer no futuro. Então, estamos construindo o que chamamos de escudo térmico permeável para Artemis 3, que foi projetado para retornos lunares. Temos falado sobre a Artemis 3 ser agora uma missão LEO ou HU. Novamente, recebemos dados de volta de qualquer maneira e podemos analisar o aquecimento naquele escudo térmico de retorno, correlacionar menos lua aos nossos modelos, correlacionar os nossos testes em solo. E, portanto, não é necessário ter menos retornos. Podemos usar esses dados para ajudar a comprovar esse projeto à medida que avançamos. Ok, vamos até lá e depois para o cavalheiro na sua frente.
Olá, Alison McGrath, da Mysterious Meteorites. Talvez essa seja uma pergunta para Debbie. Como é feita a avaliação de risco para micrometeor ou detritos orbitais?
Existe uma ferramenta muito definida que usamos chamada AP, avaliação de risco probabilística, na qual analisamos todas as coisas que criam risco para a missão. E o MMOD é um desses itens. Então, temos previsões de MMOD para os ambientes em que estamos voando, as órbitas em que estamos voando, e elas são inseridas nessa ferramenta. E é assim que determinamos onde esse risco se enquadra nesse regime. Projetamos a nave espacial para tentar ser tolerante a ataques de MMOD, colocando muita margem em nossos materiais DPS e voando de certas maneiras para manter o mod longe de onde não queremos que ele esteja. Portanto, e não muito possamos fazer com o que está disponível, mas tentamos caracterizar menos e analisar menos para entender o que estamos aceitando. Ok, podemos falar com você e depois responderemos a outra pergunta por telefone.
Olá, Michael Atkinson, Houston Public Media. Tenho uma pergunta para Rick. Quero perguntar como a reentrada para esta missão parece diferente do que foi para Artemis I e também para missões recentes, nas últimas 2 décadas, como isso é especificamente diferente. Então, se eu pudesse também obter uma confirmação rápida para a coletiva de imprensa desta noite. Dessa noite, tentei descobrir se esta é a primeira coletiva de imprensa do espaço profundo antes, ou pelo menos você sabe, fora da órbita da Terra, e não consegui descobrir 100%. Então, se alguém tiver essa confirmação.
Teremos que voltar e ver o que eles fizeram durante a Apollo.
Quanto às mudanças na entrada entre a Artemis I e a Artemis II, a diferença mais significativa é o alcance da interface de entrada até o pouso. Temos conversado repetidamente sobre como nós encurtamos a faixa de entrada. Estamos a cerca de 2.000 milhas para esta missão. Isso é uma função da certificação do escudo térmico.
Acabamos de receber um rápido acompanhamento de que houve oportunidades em voo com a tripulação durante a Apollo. Ok, vamos ao telefone. Receberemos uma pergunta de Micah Maidenberg, do Wall Street Journal.
Ô, Rachel, só algumas coisas para Rick. Rick, quanto tempo dura o período de velocidade máxima que você mencionou? E você pode falar sobre as expectativas para a tripulação durante a reentrada? Espera-se que eles fiquem em silêncio, façam observações verbais sobre o que está acontecendo. Obrigado.
Sim, o período de velocidade máxima não deve durar muito. Vamos diminuir a velocidade e continuaremos acelerando enquanto falamos. Estamos chegando cada vez mais perto da Terra e nossa velocidade está aumentando e atingirá o pico bem na interface de entrada. Quanto ao que está acontecendo na cabine, será muito semelhante a quando você está a bordo de uma aeronave voando comercialmente. Os pilotos são profissionais que estão focados na tarefa em mãos. Então, espero que a cabine fique em silêncio enquanto Reed e Victor monitoram o desempenho da espaçonave. Se tudo correr bem, eles não precisarão tomar nenhuma atitude, mas eles foram treinados trabalhando com minha equipe de controladores de voo para responder no caso de nos depararmos com um cenário fora do normal.
Nossa próxima pergunta é de Joseph Howlett, da Scientific American.
A missão até agora, estou curioso para saber se há alguma lição que você aprendeu que tenha informado o plano de reentrada, algum novo risco ou contingência que você esteja pensando com base no que aprendeu até agora a bordo.
Quanto ao que aprendemos ao longo da missão que mudou a forma como fizemos a entrada, realmente tivemos uma nave espacial funcionando muito bem. Minha equipe vai pegar o console amanhã e teremos um briefing com a tripulação de voo em preparação para a entrada e realmente não temos nada de importante. Temos o teste da válvula de água, de que deve falou, mas novamente vamos descartar o módulo de serviço. O sistema de propulsão do módulo da tripulação está normal. Vamos ativar menos no amanhã e ver como está funcionando. Então, estamos planejando entrada normal, com procedimentos exatamente como os desenvolvemos antes do voo. Joey. Obrigado. Joey, da Reuters. Qual será a temperatura dentro da cabine no pico de aquecimento ou na velocidade máxima em relação a quaisquer pequenos problemas que surgiram durante a missão, como o banheiro e aquele cheiro estranho que a tripulação estava sentindo? Há algo você tenha que fazer com isso antes da reentrada? Ou algum problema que eles possam causar durante a reentrada?
Eu diria que, do ponto de vista do hardware, não estamos fazendo nada sobre isso em relação à reentrada. Não tivemos nenhum relato sobre esse cheiro novamente. Então, analisaremos mais isso no modo da tripulação quando ele voltar. Coisas como a ventilação de águas residuais. Temos alguns novos trabalhos planejados na doca da base naval de San Diego para tentar obter alguns dados iniciais desse sistema. Estamos modificando algumas coisas no solo assim que chegar aqui para obter alguns dados rapidamente, mas não estamos mudando nada no perfil da missão em relação a esses itens.
E lembrem-se de que a tripulação estará vestida com as viseiras abaixadas em um traje pressurizado para que eles possam ter ar frio. E, independentemente da temperatura da cabine, eles permanecerão frescos e confortáveis em seus trajes.
Jack Goloff, para o Times de Londres. Gostaria de saber se Lily poderia nos dizer se há outros meios de recuperação ou resgate na área. Bem, a ideia é que a cápsula apenas caia bem na frente da embarcação, entende?
Eu queria saber se há outras coisas na área, caso isso não aconteça. Alguém poderia nos falar sobre o que vai acontecer com os astronautas depois que eles voltarem para cá? Houve alguma conversa sobre quais são os desejos deles em termos de aparição pública e assim por diante?
Ok, aqui é Lili. Vou responder a primeira. Sim, ainda estamos trabalhando com os militares para garantir que, se houver um evento fora do normal, tenhamos forças de resgate prontas para ir ao local do pouso fora do normal. Temos C-17 com PJs posicionados na base conjunta de Charleston prontos para serem mobilizados se necessário. Temos também C-7 com PJs e todo o equipamento necessário para resgatar a tripulação na fase conjunta de Pearl Harbor, prontos para serem usados na entrada. Portanto, estamos bem protegidos se houver um evento fora do normal e eles não pousarem onde o navio está. Agora, se eles pousarem a uma curta distância do navio, obviamente começaremos a nos dirigir para o local da explosão. Deixarei para responder a segunda pergunta.
Sim, esperamos ter a oportunidade de ouvir diretamente a tripulação quando eles retornarem à Terra, vários dias após seu retorno. Ok, vamos para a primeira fila aqui.
Zachary Albert, da plataforma de lançamento. Você pode nos contar sobre o cronograma de retirada dos experimentos da ciência da Orion? Sei que, voltando da ISS, há alguns que recebemos rapidamente da nave. Há algum plano para isso com a Orion ou será mais fácil enviar menos lá de volta com ela quando voltar para a Flórida?
É uma combinação. Há bolsas de TO iniciais que saem imediatamente. Elas são enviadas de volta em aeronaves. Parte do armazenamento de dados, que contém algumas das imagens e outros dados técnicos, será, na verdade, baixando esses cartões em computadores, fazendo cópias lá em San Diego. Então, uma combinação, dependendo da criticidade, e então o próprio veículo retorna, você sabe, com o resto do equipamento.
TJMCO do Times. Muito obrigado. Por Lakeisha, desculpe se perdi antes. Sei que estávamos falando sobre dados de radiação. Vocês conseguiram reunir ou já baixaram algum desses dados de radiação? E vocês conseguiram dar uma olhada? Ou tudo isso vai ficar para depois?
Então, acho que estava me referindo aos dados do Avatar, e esses dados, obviamente, serão trazidos da nave, assim, que forem devolvidos.
Ok, vamos pegar o telefone. Esta é de Manuel Mazined, da Exploracial.
Muito obrigado. Talvez uma pergunta para a Rita. Não é sobre a entrada, mas sobre a simulação que a tripulação realizou com o Oshus. Gostaria de saber se eles forneceram algum feedback após esse exercício.
Você já imaginou saber exatamente como Olinda está agora, antes mesmo de...
E se você recebeu algum feedback desse teste?
Manuel, não estamos ouvindo você muito bem. Você pode tentar novamente, por favor?
Peço desculpa. Mani, da exploração. Eu estava tentando ouvir se ele poderia fornecer um feedback sobre o teste com os trajes OX a bordo da cápsula. Alguns dias atrás, tínhamos ritmos distintos e me pergunto se essa tripulação fez alguma sugestão para aprimorar a metodologia ou se eles se sentiram ok com a situação.
Então, eu não estou ciente de nenhum feedback específico que recebemos ainda sobre os trajes OX por ter menos luz colocado antes ou por ter menos luz colocado no início da missão. Mas a experiência adquirida por ter a chance de colocar menos luz durante a missão e não apenas antes da entrada é inestimável para a tripulação. Nunca houve quem vestisse um traje OX em condições de gravidade zero. E então, as lições que eles aprenderam ao fazer isso em um momento indiscutivelmente menos estressante no meio da missão são que isso vai valer a pena para eles, vai render dividendos quando eles tiverem que colocar menos LO no dia da entrada, quando há uma pequena restrição de tempo, que precisamos garantir que eles estejam vestidos e sentados antes da entrada.
Oi. Myers Durham, CBS News. Uma pergunta para Rick e outra para Debbie. Rick, quanto tempo até a interface de entrada e aproximadamente em que altitude, se você souber, você vai voltar para Altedras e obter o GPS de volta? Com que rapidez essa sequência de eventos está acontecendo? Debbie, depois do Artemis II, os paraquedas principais e a cobertura da baía dianteira não puderam ser recuperados para inspeção.
Há algo que você gostaria de saber sobre o desempenho deles que não sabe, com base em outros dados que conseguiu obter?
Então, no que diz respeito à transferência da rede do espaço profundo para Tedros, isso ocorrerá aproximadamente 38 minutos antes da interface de entrada. Depois do encerramento, ouvirão a Capcom confirmar que a conexão está perfeita, sem interrupções. E acho este é um bom momento para reconhecer que a rede do espaço profundo tem tido um desempenho excepcional durante a missão. Foi um item de observação enquanto nos preparávamos para a missão nos últimos meses, mas a equipe que tem gerenciado esses sistemas e garantido boas comunicações realmente teve um desempenho tremendo e seus esforços antes do voo renderam dividendos.
Sim, eu diria que sobre a questão do paraquedas. O Artemis foi um ponto de dados, então não sabemos se é uma demonstração de como os paraquedas funcionam, mas nossa certificação é realmente baseada em testes extensivos em solos quais estamos, ou você sabe, separando os recursos do paraquedas da parte de trás de um avião em uma e observando todos os diferentes tipos de cantos da caixa. Quando você tem um ou dois disparos, ou um drogue, você perde um drogue, você perde um principal, e então você está fazendo esses testes em solo para realmente provar esse sistema. Então eu diria que você sabe não ter o recurso de volta. Você sabe, você sempre pode aprender inspecionando visualmente quando ele retorna, mas não é nisso que baseamos nossa certificação. Estamos colocando os disparos anteriores do Artemis II nisso. Você sabe, gostaríamos de recuperar menos flow e ver se os recuperamos. Mas parte do motivo de adicionar todos os recursos aéreos adicionais dos quais falamos antes era obter algumas imagencialmente boas dessas filmagens caso nós recuperemos. Certo, faremos mais uma ou duas e depois prosseguiremos e concluiremos.
Pode prosseguir. Eu, Nick, da BC13. Uma pergunta para você, Rick. Conte-nos a dificuldade sobre o que vocês farão em relação ao lançamento ao sobrevoo lunar. Para as pessoas em casa, quão difícil é esse pouso que vocês estão tentando realizar e como está o nervosismo aqui no JSC para garantir que esses astronautas retornem em segurança à Terra?
Não sei se é necessariamente mais difícil. Acho que é apenas um ambiente diferente. É muito dinâmico. Então, de forma semelhante, o ambiente de lançamento não há muito tempo para reagir. Quando realizamos o lançamento de qualquer foguete, não importa quem esteja no comando do lançamento, não há muito tempo para responder. E nós conversamos um pouco e mostramos o vídeo da equipe de engenharia e como as equipes de operações e de engenharia têm trabalhado bem juntas. Infelizmente, quando estamos em um ambiente dinâmico com tempo realmente crítico, não temos muita oportunidade de trocar informações e falar sobre as nuances das falhas. Então, o que é diferente para a entrada é que há mais dependência das equipes de operações do que dos especialistas para fornecer uma recomendação e garantir com segurança que os astronautas voltem para casa.
Sabe, eu vou mencionar que Deb mencionou um pouco antes sobre a avaliação de risco probabilística. Nós não dedicamos muito tempo a discutir o risco de uma parte da missão em comparação com as outras, mas obviamente você sabe que lançar o foguete é, em essência, uma parte significativa do risco que já passamos. Mas, obviamente, estamos no limite agora, mas agora estamos chegando ao fim da missão. E, obviamente, levar a tripulação de volta para casa e fazer menos lá pousar em segurança é uma parte significativa do risco que ainda temos pela frente, Art.
Ok, faremos uma última pergunta aqui e depois concluiremos.
Obrigado por responder minha pergunta. Lamento muito que isso traga o temido banheiro novamente. Mas houve uma conversa entre a tripulação e o controle, acho que foi ontem, sobre o volume no tanque, que precisava ser monitorado antes da reentrada. Eu queria saber se você poderia me dar mais informações sobre qual poderia ser essa preocupação, ou se era uma preocupação real. Deduzo suas respostas anteriores que você está feliz com as condições para a reentrada, mas porque isso pode ser um problema. E se for um problema, ele foi resolvido?
Sim, acho que o problema, se for específico para a reentrada, é com esse tanque, não é como temos falado nos últimos dias, ele não está ventilando tão efetivamente quanto esperávamos ou planejamos. Então, esse tanque pode ter mais volume no dia da reentrada do que nossos modelos iniciais previram e analisaram. Então, se apenas olhando para
Pilot Victor Glover on the right, and down in the mid-deck area just below their feet, suited up in their launch and entry suits, are mission specialists Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen of the Canadian Space Agency. A number of milestones yet to unfold before splashdown just over an hour and a half from now. Earlier today, the crew woke up at about 10:35 a.m. Central Time. They completed the final major maneuver of the flight, that being the return trajectory correction 3 burn. It was an 8-second burn that fine-tuned its trajectory to enter a corridor over the Pacific.
Obrigado por se juntar.
Takes that heat energy away, right? If you think about water boiling, once it starts boiling, the temperature does not rise anymore because instead of the energy going into heating the water, it goes into breaking those bonds. So it's the exact same process. You can think of this heat shield as a material that sweats, right? And takes away the heat energy. And of course, you know, we're familiar with thermal insulators here on Earth. They're in the walls of all of our homes. So what you need is something to take the energy away, and also you need protection against the intense heat, because the surface of that heat shield is going to reach 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. You know, the surface of the sun is 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a lot of heat. It's half as hot as the surface of the sun.
Yeah, that's a wild stat there. Well, and the other thing that I wanted to ask is, so we know that Artemis I's heat shields, they experienced some unexpected damage during reentry. It led to cracking and detachment. So what adjustments did NASA make to ensure this crew's safety?
Yeah, so it's one of those cases where someone's like, I have a great idea. You know, if we, instead of going straight into the atmosphere, what if we skip off the atmosphere, shed some energy, then we could come in for, for the final approach at a lower speed, so we won't have to dissipate as much heat, and we have a wider variety of choices in where we land. Well, there was an unintended consequence, and that is that they had extreme heating and then extreme cooling and then back to extreme heating. Air went into the heat shield. That created air pockets that then later expanded and broke off pieces. So what they said is, let's jettison, pun intended, that skip approach, and let's go straight in, because the heat shields, even though they had those problems, they still protected the capsule. So what they now know is that they can come straight in, maybe try that maneuver sometime later with a different heat shield material, because, you know, retooling the heat shield for a completely new material, there was no time for that. So they're taking the direct approach on this mission.
Well, and Hakeem, let's listen in to what's now like the live broadcast from NASA TV as the space agency prepares for the Artemis crew to splash down. Let's take a listen.
We will have a series of roll maneuvers. These are computer commanded that will roll the vehicle slightly to the left, then back to the right. That will bleed off excess energy as we begin our peak period of velocity. We expect to reach a maximum velocity of 24,661.21 miles per hour, equivalent to about Mach 33 times the speed of sound, shortly after we enter that blackout period. Once we exit the blackout period, of course, we're in the denser regions of the Earth's atmosphere, and then we get set up for the parachute deployment sequence. First, the deployment of 3 forward bay cover chutes that will pull essentially the top forward bay cover off the very top of the Integrity vehicle. That will be followed by the deployment of drogue chutes, and then the final deployment of a series of 3 main parachutes at 7:04 and 44 seconds p.m. Central Time. From that point on, it is about 3 minutes or so until splashdown. Splashdown scheduled at 7:07 and 8 seconds p.m. Central Time at a gentle speed of 19 miles an hour. So just to give you some perspective, at the time that we enter the Earth's atmosphere, we're traveling somewhere around Mach 32. We will splash down at a speed of about 19 miles an hour. The G-forces that will build on the crew members inside Integrity will build to about 3.9 Gs. That is what is expected and what they have trained for and what the spacecraft is designed to support.
Hakeem, you were just listening in with me. What did you make of what we just heard?
Well, I tell you, it's really fascinating because these astronauts have been in 0G. They have been weightless for all of these days. And now, upon re-entry at peak deceleration, they will feel 4 times their body weight. They will, so me as a 200-pound man, I'd feel like I'm 800 pounds. Now, I've ridden in the zero gravity plane where on the ascent, you get to be twice your gravity. That was weird. 4 times gravity, that would be incredible. But then also what the vehicle has to do to undergo such a deceleration from Mach 33. And one thing about moving faster than the speed of sound, and we're talking about energy dissipation and moving through the atmosphere, when you're moving slower than the speed of sound is what is shorthand for the speed at which information waves can travel through that medium. So you're moving faster than information can move through that medium. That means that the air molecules don't separate for you. You're slamming into them. So that is a lot of energy that's going to be dissipated in a short amount of time. And then when they're moving subsonically, they deploy their parachutes and softly land in the ocean.
Well, and let's talk about, the takeaways from this particular mission and how this potentially sets up Artemis III.
Right. So what's going on here is a lot of systems have been tested, technological systems as well as the human body. And there have been some small issues, like, for example, with the toilet, the human waste, how you go with human waste. That's been tested. How they exercise, that's been tested. The temperature control, the humidity controls, the navigational system, setting up the radiation protection system and testing that out, right? And we're talking about in close, cramped quarters. So you're also talking about a lot of the social dynamics that go on, staying on mission. So all of these systems are being tested. They didn't have to do landing. As a matter of fact, this system wasn't even you couldn't land with the system that they went up in. So now, take it through Artemis 1 without humans. We've done Artemis 2. We're going to do Artemis 3 and Artemis 4 and ultimately have a permanent moon base. So this is just a step along that journey, but it's been a very, very important one because it's the very first one that included real humans with their lives at risk.
Yeah, certainly. Hakeem, I think you had to clear your throat just like I did just a minute ago and taking in all of what's happening right now. Again, for our viewers that are watching, we have these live images of the crew inside that capsule as they're preparing for re-entry. All 4 of them were just now a little more than an hour, or a little less, than an hour and a half away from that expected splashdown right there off the coast of San Diego. And look, Hakeem, we were talking about the physics behind, all this technology just involved in the re-entry and the calculations. And this is something that it takes years to develop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it absolutely is. If you think about just your lunar injection burn, your translunar injection burn, right? The timing on that has to be just right, for that major burn. Then you have a smaller corrective burn afterward. Then you're looking at this free return trajectory, where it's essentially like you throw it up there and then you let it fall back down to Earth, right? Like, who would have imagined that in the 1950s, And then all of these life support systems and this autonomous vehicle, right? We have Waymo cars on our streets, and some people are like, there's no way I'm getting inside that thing. Now, because there's no driver. Now imagine you're placing your life in the hands of a spacecraft that is autonomous, right? That system has been tested. But again, I say it over and over again, these engineers are incredibly great at what they do. These astronauts, you know, they're incredibly good at what they do. They're incredibly courageous people. This re-entry into Earth's atmosphere, again, they're placing their lives into the hands of the technology and the technologists that have prepared these systems for them. So if you think about a fighter pilot that has those mechanics on the aircraft carrier who they have to rely on, in the very same way, these astronauts are placing their lives in the hands of a large team of engineers. Multiple systems in coordination have to work properly and bring them safely back to Earth.
Yeah, it's really a fascinating feat, all of this coming together just to make this mission happen. Hakeem, hey, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me, Alex.
Of course, of course. We've got more news right after this break.
Princípio. Hidratação corporal dermatológica.
Escolher iogurtes Ninho é um gesto de amor. Iogurtes Ninho, mais que palavras, amar é um gesto.
A primavera chegou, trazendo um novo começo e novas aventuras. Com o Nomad ESM, sua viagem flui sem problemas, sem preocupações, sem interrupções. Conectividade estável e confiável. Nomad ESM, seu melhor companheiro de viagem.
A gente liga 99,8% do Brasil. Liga momentos, liga vida. E agora, com novos investimentos, a distribuição de energia vai ficar mais digital e forte. Distribuidoras de energia. A gente liga o Brasil.
Encontre a melhor internet no seu CEP. Compare preços, velocidades, operadoras y muito mais. Pesquise agora con melhor escolha.
El ruido de este mosquito es tan fastidioso que te lleva al límite, pero su picadura puede traer dengue y llevarte a un centro de hospitalización. Consulta a tu médico o centro de vacunación por nuevas alternativas para protegerte contra el dengue.
Levamos a sua empresa onde importa, rumo a escolhas que funcionam e geram impacto. Se sua empresa quer ir além de respostas óbvias, essa trilha é para você.
Já fez a primeira venda do seu dia? Quem parcela pelo celular com o Tom sai na frente e recebe na hora. E com as taxas baixinhas, o seu lucro fica ainda maior. Venda pelo celular e aproveite as melhores taxas.
No one could understand why anybody would kill a firefighter.
Get the med kit! He's a firefighter. Damn it! Oh God, no.
Now tonight.
New developments tonight in the murder of a firefighter gunned down in front of his home.
The one call that changed everything.
This is a case of hidden motives and a shocking betrayal.
One Last Call, the new 2020, tonight on ABC and stream on Disney Plus and Hulu.
Back now with some of the top stories that we're following here on ABC News Live. The high-stakes peace talks in Pakistan are set to happen this weekend amid a fragile ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. Vice President J.D. Vance says he thinks negotiations with Tehran will be positive. But ongoing attacks between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon are threatening to derail the two-week ceasefire. And questions are swirling after yesterday's surprise announcement from First Lady Melania Trump denying having any connection to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Sources in the White House also telling ABC News that they were caught off guard with the announcement. And the husband of the missing American woman who spoke with police in the Bahamas for 3 hours today. Brian Hooker was arrested earlier this week in connection with the disappearance of his wife, Lynette Hooker. Hooker says that Lynette fell overboard from their dinghy and he lost sight of her. He denied the allegations during that interview. All right, it is time now for our weekly medical rundown with ABC News medical contributor and pediatrician at Stanford Children's Health, Dr. Alok Patel. He has got several important stories for us, starting with this new data from the CDC. I see you dancing there, Doc. This new data from the CDC on declining birth rates. And Dr. Patel, I'm curious, what else did the CDC reporting show? And the birth rates, I mean, they've been declining for decades now, right?
Alex, they have, specifically since 2007. So even though they're down only 1% from last year, that's 3.6 million births, down from a little bit over 4 million. Now, the researchers have noted this trend is happening not only in the United States, but in many parts of the world. And while this study didn't specifically look at why birth rates were declining, there is some silver lining that teen pregnancies have gone down. There may also be a cohort of people in their 20s or 30s who are not having kids now, but might later. But also, according to surveys, a lot of people are afraid about the finances of trying to raise a child and also have anxiety about bringing a kid into a world with war, instability, and climate change. So a lot of different factors to consider when we look at fertility rates and why they're dropping.
Yeah, some really real concerns right there. But I also want to talk about this new study that shows that marriage may actually help reduce cancer risk.
You know, this study looked at many married couples and people who were not married and found that in men who were not married and women who were not married, there was a higher rate of cancer, between 60 to 80%. Now, the researchers do strongly say that it's not that marriage itself prevents cancer, but it may reduce the risk of someone taking on risky behavior, such as not going to the doctor or smoking. You also have a little bit more of a social support, someone to check in on you. And you can do all of that even if you're not married. You can find your people, make sure you're taking care of your health, and reduce those risky behaviors. And you will also drop your risk of cancer, even without spending all that money on a ring.
All right. Well, and tell us about this new study about excess weight and heart health.
So we've known that obesity is linked to many different chronic illnesses, including several types of cancer and heart disease. But this specific study really emphasizes the fact that it is how long your body has that excess weight, which is causing the most harm. Researchers followed people after the year 2000 for about 17 years, found that people who were younger and who carried weight for a longer period of time had a higher risk of heart disease and stroke. So it's not only about dropping that weight, it's about keeping it off.
Yeah, certainly. Okay. Well, and lastly, it is Friday. So what is your weekend prescription, sir?
Keep it positive. Even if it's raining and there's clouds outside, an optimistic outlook is really good for your brain. Recent studies suggest that it can drop your risk of dementia by up to 15%. Alex, optimism is not something you're born with. It is a skill. You can practice gratitude. You can look at journaling, reframe negative thoughts, but also find your purpose, your people, your social connections, something that gives you some excitement this weekend. I suggest just writing down 3 things you're looking forward to this weekend, and your body, brain, and soul will thank you.
I can tell you that one of the things that I will write down is looking forward to talking to you next week, Doctor. I hope you have a great weekend.
See that? My brain already thanks you, Alex.
Good stuff. All right, Dr. Patel for us. Appreciate you as always. Coming up after the break, it's not just blue, it's cerulean. A look at the fashion-forward sequel, Devil Wears Prada 2.
Olha que linda! Preciso disso.
Linha Seara Air Fryer, agora com novidades.
IPTU 2026 até 30 de abril. Você investe na sua cidade. Gravatá investe no futuro.
Sabe onde encontrar o melhor móvel para a sua casa? Aqui na Ferreira Costa. Venha conhecer o nosso showroom de móveis e aproveite preços especiais em camas, guarda-roupas, mesas e muito mais. É mais design para sua casa e facilidade de pagamento para você. Confira as ofertas na loja, no site e no app e leve o móvel do seu sonho para casa.
Disney Plus and Hulu.
All right, that bell means it is time now for our last call. And as we are counting down to the splashdown of Artemis II, we're talking about what the food scene is like in space. And our Sophie Flay has more on what these astronauts are eating aboard the Orion spacecraft.
From In Integrity, we are ready for the event.
The Artemis II crew checking in as they prepare for one of the most dangerous parts of the mission, re-entry into Earth's atmosphere. They're expected to reach a speed of nearly 35,000 feet per second.
We were asked, what are we looking forward to? And I said, splashdown. And there's so much data that you've seen already, but all the good stuff is coming back with us. There's so many more pictures, so many more stories.
Beyond all that data, this mission is also testing how humans survive in space, right down to what they eat.
Those are green beans. So we do have to eat our vegetables even in space.
The food is designed to balance calorie needs, hydration, and nutrition, while still accommodating the astronauts' preferences. The crew started choosing their meals years ago.
That's when we have crew members come in to try all the food we have to offer on the standard menu, and then work with crew members to come up with this personalized menu.
Without refrigeration as an option, many meals are freeze-dried and rehydratable. The menu includes 189 items, including beverages such as coffee, lemonade, and cocoa, and food choices like tortillas, mac and cheese, and beef brisket. Some Canadian favorites are on board for mission specialist Jeremy Hansen, along with 5 different hot sauces, and for good reason.
Due to the microgravity, crew members' body fluid shift upwards. That make them have like a stuffy nose sensation. You don't smell things very well in microgravity. And the smell of the food is a big part of your sensory perception of the food.
The crew even has shrimp cocktail, an item that was also available to astronauts during the Apollo program nearly 60 years ago.
Very, very interesting. Our thanks to Sophie Flay for that report. And the news, of course, never stops. I'm Alex Brachet. Thank you for streaming with us. And we're going to leave you right now with a look back at the historic Artemis II mission around the moon.
10, 9, 8, 7, RS-25 engines lit. 4, 3, 2, 1, booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
We surpassed the furthest distance since humans have ever traveled from planet Earth. We choose this moment to challenge this generation and in the next to make sure this record is not long-lived. There's a feature in a really neat place on the moon. We would like to call it Carol. And you spell that C-A-R-R-O-L-L.
I haven't even begun to process what we've been through. I'm going to be thinking about and talking about all of these things for the rest of my life, for sure.
Princípio. Idratação corporal dermatológica.
Oggi la faccio io, la vera cucina italiana. Il segreto del queijo flyby.
O segredo das famílias italianas há 140 anos, agora na sua cozinha.
Ficou da hora.
Chegou o Galbano, o queijo número 1 da Itália, agora no Brasil.
2026 é o ano em que você vai bater as suas metas. Live Up, para quem tem fome de viver.
A gente liga 99,8% do Brasil. Liga momentos, liga a vida. E agora, com novos investimentos, a distribuição de energia vai ficar mais digital e forte. Distribuidoras de energia. A gente liga o Brasil.
Encontre a melhor internet no seu CEP. Compare preços, velocidades, operadoras e muito mais. Pesquise agora com o melhor escolha.
Levamos a sua empresa onde importa, rumo a escolhas que funcionam e geram impacto. Se sua empresa quer ir além de respostas óbvias, essa trilha é para você.
El ruido de este mosquito es tan fastidioso que te lleva al límite, pero su picadura puede traer dengue y llevarte a un centro de hospitalización. Consulta a tu médico o centro de vacunación por nuevas alternativas para protegerte contra el dengue.
Nesse verão, dê um refresco para o seu bolso com as taxinhas do Tom. Venda com taxas a partir de 0,57% e aproveite a maquininha com até 72% off. peça sua.
My mom survived a serial killer and literally lived to tell the tale.
This is the story of a serial killer who hunted his prey.
People are so unpredictable, and that's what's scary.
He had this insatiable appetite to hurt women.
My mom lived in fear, but she's very lucky that she survived it.
The damage is immeasurable. The question is, could there be more victims out there?
Terror on the Trails, now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
The high-stakes return home for the Artemis II astronauts, completing their historic 10-day mission to the moon. The world awaiting the splashdown back on Earth as NASA ushers in a new era of space exploration. Special coverage begins right now.
4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon.
Good luck. Godspeed, Artemis II.
Humanity's next great voyage begins.
We surpassed the furthest distance since humans have ever traveled from planet Earth.
We will always choose Earth. We will always choose each other.
We were asked, what are we looking forward to? And I said, splashdown. We have to get back.
Today, for all humanity, you're pushing beyond that frontier.
I'm Mike Ajachi in New York. You're watching ABC News Live. Artemis II, mission to the moon, coming home. Well, welcome to our friends joining us again from National Geographic. We're just moments away from the astronauts re-entering Earth's atmosphere on their carefully timed return voyage. Americans, Mission Commander Reed Weissman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialist Christina Cook, as well as Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen, coming back as heroes after making history. Glover, the first black person to travel to the moon, and Cook, the first woman. The crew making the farthest human journey ever into deep space, and the first team to fly around the far side of the moon since Apollo 17 more than a half-century ago. Now, the astronauts preparing to speed back into the atmosphere at about 24,000 miles per hour. The heat shield on the Orion spacecraft withstanding temperatures of up to 5,000 degrees during a planned communications blackout with mission control, all before parachutes deploy from the craft, the crew splashing down off the coast of San Diego, and helicopters moving in to airlift them from Orion to a ship nearby. ABC News transportation correspondent Gio Benitez is here to kick us off. Gio, we're about an hour away from splashdown.
Oh my, can you believe it?
Oh my gosh, this is just an amazing time right now, isn't it?
I mean, it has taken so much. I'm thinking about all of the people that it took to get to this point, and it has been quite a 10-day journey. This ship has been operating incredibly well and really responding to everything.
Absolutely. Now, we've been talking about that final correction burn that sets up reentry. We already know that happened.
That happened.
What are the crucial moments between now and splashdown?
So the next big one happens in exactly 31 minutes. We're looking at 7:33 p.m. Eastern time, and that is when the service module will be ditched. So you have this little module that's been traveling with the crew the entire time with that capsule. That service module has the propulsion, it's had the life support, the power, all of those things. They're going to ditch that because then the ship has to reveal the heat shield. Right. And that's when it begins that re-entry. 7:53 p.m. is when that entry protocol is going to kick off. And that's what we're really going to watch, because that really is the most dangerous time in this entire mission. We're going to have 6 minutes. You said there was a planned blackout, a communications blackout between space and mission control. Right. And so that blackout for 6 minutes, we won't know what's going on, but what they'll be seeing is plasma surrounding the capsule at that time. It's the super hot plasma, 5,000 degrees, and that's why it's so dangerous. On the other side of that, it's going to look good.
Oh, yeah. Now, the other side of that is splashdown. So what happens once they splash down?
So right before the splashdown, you have 2 sets of parachutes. You have a first set that's going to slow it down because remember, they're coming in hot and they're coming in fast, 24,000 miles per hour. They've got to slow down. They've got to slow down significantly. So that first set of parachutes is going to slow them down quite a bit. And then a second set of parachutes right before the splashdown, that's going to slow them down to 20 miles per hour. They're going to hit that water at 20 miles per hour. It sounds fast, but it's going to probably feel very, very, gentle for them. And once they're there on the water, they're going to actually be airlifted. They're going to be a helicopter is going to come over. It's going to airlift each one, and it's going to take them over to the USS Merthyr, which is a ship that's waiting there. We were told that they are preparing that ship with everything they need and everything they want to eat. Apparently, the astronauts requested Uncrustables.
Uncrustables. Okay, I would have said a steak, but Uncrustables work.
That's what they want. Peanut butter jelly.
Yeah, Gio, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to ABC News' Will Reeve on Coronado Island in the San Diego Bay. Will, what else can you tell us about the mission to recover the astronauts once they splash down?
Ike, here in San Diego, very close to Naval Base San Diego, maybe you can hear those fighter jets crossing overhead. There's lots of activity here. We got planes everywhere, and then somewhere out behind me is the John P. Merthyr. That is the ship that is coordinating all of these recovery operations once the Artemis and everybody, the astronauts on it, splash down, hopefully safely at 8:07 p.m. Then everything else kicks into gear. There's ships and small boats and divers all in the area. As soon as they splash down, they'll approach at a safe distance, and then the protocol goes from there. The divers will approach Orion, then they will open the hatch and begin to extract the crew. The crew will be transferred to the front porch. It's this raft that they've specially created for this recovery mission. Then the astronauts will be taken off one by one, extracted by helicopter onto the ship, where they'll get medical evaluation, and then from there eventually come back to shore before finally making one more connecting flight onto Houston. So everything so far going to plan. Lots of activity here in San Diego. Somewhere behind me, they're going to splash down pretty soon.
All right, can't wait to see it, Will. Thanks for that. Now to ABC News' Trevor Ault at a watch party at the Air and Space Museum in San Diego. Trevor, how are the excitement levels as we get closer to splashdown time?
I mean, it's really building, Ike, to be sure. This is a capacity of about 1,500 inside this museum, and the workers here tell me they are expecting to fill it up completely. I was speaking with a member of their comms team just a little bit ago. I said, do you think this is going to be the busiest day of the year? He said, I think it's already the busiest day of the past 20 years. We have seen all of these families coming in for this watch party, filling in, trying to find any kind of seat that they can. It's already kind of overflowing, and there are several different areas for watching this as it comes down. Now, the area that this is going to come down is not that far this way out into the ocean. They are very close to this, not quite close enough to feel that sonic boom, but you can feel that level of excitement as we are getting closer and closer. And what's really cool about this, like, is to see the families, the generations that have all had different experiences with space travel and consuming it over the years. I talked with one man, an 86-year-old grandfather. He watched the first ever space launches going back to when he was a teenager. It inspired him to become a pilot and an engineer. He's been fascinated with space travel all those decades later, flew himself for 45 years, and now he's here today to watch this splashdown with his grandchildren. He said as soon as he learned about Artemis coming down, he was thrilled, couldn't wait for today. And we know that there's family after family who are here who cannot wait for this moment.
You know, Trevor, I want to talk a little bit more about those families. You know, the Artemis II crew right now, they have just about an hour left in space before they come back down into the Earth's atmosphere. What are the families telling you about their feelings anticipating this splashdown?
I think well, they're certainly eager about it, and also what I think is really notable, like, is the confidence and the positivity and their faith in the engineers, all those space engineers that have worked on this, and the astronauts themselves being able to handle this reentry point. You know, that engineer that I spoke with, the retired engineer, that pilot, said, I was like, are you nervous about the splashdown? And he said, absolutely not. This is the easy part. What I can tell is that there is this building excitement and also faith that this is going to be a moment of celebration. I think in the past now, space travel goes back about 60 years plus, this would come with a lot of nervousness and a lot of fear. Make no mistake, there is still that level of indecisiveness among some people, but this is meant to be families experiencing something that in America has always been landmark moments, and this is one of those that we haven't seen in quite some time. I think that what you're seeing are generations of families here talking about how great this is going to be to get to experience one of these moments together.
The anticipation is palpable. Trevor, thank you for that. Now to ABC News' Leslie Lopez. Leslie, how is the weather looking tonight? Can we expect clear skies for the splashdown?
I mean, this is such a great day. I mean, yes, we're talking about a dramatic re-entry with clear blue skies. I do want to point out, though, there are things that are shifting around. You can tell the wind is blowing. The good news is the wind is, yes, part of the criteria. If the wind gets too high, then they're going to have to come up with another plan. But it looks like we're going to stay below that 28-mile-per-hour threshold. Let me just also point this out. The Artemis II splashdown, you're noticing it's down in San Diego. There is a storm to the north into Northern California, Central California. Now, that thing's going to stay pretty well away from the touchdown, the splashdown area. But wave height, I mean, we still have to consider that. The good news is wave height is expected to be less than 6 feet. Again, winds should be less than 28 miles per hour. It's around 10. Visibility and cloud coverage. Okay, we do have a cloud layer. I mean, that's very famous for San Diego. It's the question of how low is that cloud ceiling. If it's too low, it'll be tough for the recovery effort when it comes to that aerial support that they need. The good news is, while there is a cloud layer, and there will be a moment where we will not be able to see the capsule through that cloud layer. It will break free, and it'll be breaking free for our aircraft to go up and be able to be part of this recovery mission with no problem. In addition to that, again, that rain is staying well to the north, 35 miles away to the north or beyond is what that criteria is, and this is way, way, way to the north. It won't arrive till tomorrow. So again, this is a go mission for Splashdown. Very exciting to be on the West Coast for something so monumental. We'll send it back over your way, Ike.
All right, Leslie, thank you. Joining me now on set is former NASA astronaut and two-time space shuttle pilot Susan Kilrain. Susan, pleasure to have you in person here. Thank you. Now, I wanted to ask, you've ridden the spacecraft home yourself. As Orion lines up for this fiery plunge and splashdown, what are you feeling alongside the crew tonight?
You know, like I'm remembering those exact moments for me, because the first time you re-enter in a spacecraft, you have never been able to train that. You've never been able to train being in what looks like a fireball, that heat, that intense heat. Now, 3 of the 4 have flown before, but they've never re-entered like this. This is a whole new ball game, and no matter what the weather is now, there are no other options. They are going to come down, splash down off the coast of San Diego and get rescued, picked up by the Navy there. So it's coming to an end.
And I want to talk about that, the way that they're coming down. It's that fiery ball that you just talked about. The crew inside, they're going to face G's of up to 3.9 G's. That force is so intense. After being in space for 9, 10 days of weightlessness, what do those G's actually do on the human body?
It's very interesting because for fighter pilots, 3.9 G's is nothing. But it is 3.9 G's through your abdomen, this axis, not through your spine where you're used to it. And it is different when you've been weightless. I know that when I was coming back, I thought, well, we must be at 2 G's by now. And I looked at the G meter and we were 0.2 of a G. That's how off I was. You feel extremely heavy, and they will have compression garments to help squeeze the blood up so that the heart keeps blood up into their heads. And, you know, it's just part of the re-entry. 3 of the 4 have trained it, but 1 has not.
And I want to talk about the lighter side of life in space. I know you've spoken about food. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we have that now famous Nutella jar and all the wake-up songs that we've been enjoying, that they've been listening to. As this crew prepares to hit the water, what small human moments do you think that they'll remember for a lifetime?
Oh, wow. This is such a monumental mission that they're going to remember. The lunar flyby is probably going to be a highlight for them. All that, you know, looking out the window at the moon, but also the camaraderie. This team became a team. I mean, they've trained together. They know each other, they know their families. Their bond is solid for the rest of their lives. They're going to get together and reminisce about these past 10 days.
Right. And I just want to pick your brain a little bit. As this spacecraft re-enters the Earth's atmosphere, we're going to see it engulfed in that fireball, essentially. You are a pilot yourself. What are you going to be watching for when you see the Artemis II spacecraft essentially re-entering Earth's atmosphere?
You know, I don't know how much of it we are going to be able to see, to be honest with you, but we're going to lose communications with them for several minutes. And as back in the Apollo days, we are looking for that connection to comms that they're going to get when they come through that. And that is when we'll know that everything went okay. And then the next big thing is when the parachutes start coming out. And, you know, it's just, then their families can relax. We can all relax. And then they're going to splash down into the ocean. And you know, it's just, I expect there'll be cheers everywhere from people that are watching, especially Mission Control.
Oh, it's going to be a sight to see.
Right?
Susan Kilrain, can't thank you enough for your perspective.
Thank you, Ike.
Thank you. And for more, let's bring in ABC News contributor and astrophysicist Hakeem Oluseyi. Hakeem, I love talking to you about space. Now, for viewers watching, it might look like a simple fall back to Earth, but from a physics standpoint, what's most remarkable about the hypersonic re-entry that we're about to see?
You know, man, if I was falling off of a skyscraper or a cliff, I'd be screaming the entire time. So, you know, they should have been screaming for days falling from the moon, right? That is a high altitude from which to fall. But they haven't been fearful at all. And, you know, this next few moments of entering the Earth's atmosphere, and you talked about it, Susan talked about it, being enshrouded in that plasma ball. Man, talk about stories to tell later in life, to tell your grandchildren and, you know, and bonding with your crewmates. I mean, this is an extraordinary journey. You know, our fiction is full of stories of extraordinary journeys. And these four individuals have shown us what humans are capable of when we work together. And at a time of great stress on many other levels of life, here is a triumph. When they come safely back to Earth and are reunited with their families, it is a massive triumph of human beings working together, and I love it.
You know, Hakeem, we're approaching that 6-minute communications blackout as the capsule plows into the atmosphere. How does that moment underscore both the danger and the beauty of physics at work?
Oh, yeah. I mean, just the fact that they are engulfed in this plasma ball is some beautiful physics, right? You know, the ionization of the air, the friction of entering the atmosphere. This is something that happens every day for meteors, right? There's 2 tons of material that fall to Earth every day from outer space, just not humans inside capsules. So this is a testament for the fact that, you know, humans can do on purpose what nature does by accident. And, you know, what we've learned is that the planets are not completely isolated from each other. Due to large impacts, materials can go from one to the other. That leads to the idea that life can go from one planet to another complete planetary system. But all of that works from accidents. But we humans can envision this and do it on purpose and choose our destiny. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to Mars and beyond. We choose a permanent presence in space. And also, what's going to be very important for this is how much of a cadence we can develop for doing it over and over again and making what is extraordinary today routine tomorrow.
You know, Hakeem, we're about 17 minutes away 16 minutes now. I'm keeping a really tight ship on it. From that service module separating from the crewed module, exposing that heat sensor. Now, this crew, they just lived through the harshest radiation environment humans have experienced in more than a half a century. As they come home, what questions are you most eager for the science data to answer?
Well, you know, one thing I'd like to do is see the data, right? They took a lot more data than we have had access to. We got to see some remarkable images of the Earth from space. The image of the far side of the moon in the foreground with the Earth in the background, that one image through the window where you see a part of Earth, but you also see the technology of humanity in the foreground, and seeing how thin our atmosphere is, right? And, you know, when people hear statements like climate change, they think, oh, we couldn't possibly change our atmosphere. We're too small. Well, no, our atmosphere is incredibly small. So, you know, there are so many scientific questions that we have about the geology of the moon, about the effects of space travel on human beings, and about the actual workings of the capsule and the rockets and everything, right? So there's a lot of data that a lot of scientists and engineers are going to be poring over, but I keep thinking that this is just the beginning, man. You know, we're going to do this again. We're going to put boots on the ground, boots on the moon. And, you know, if you're like me and you love Southern soul music, you know, Boots on the Ground has been a theme song for the last year in Southern soul music. Hey, one day they're going to be playing it on the moon.
I heard that. Now, real quick, Hakeem, I want to listen in right now to the NASA feed, essentially ground control, speaking to the astronauts. Let's take a listen.
Designed into this mission to gather data, to protect the heat shield, since the Artemis II mission and beyond will have a different designed heat shield that will allow that skip entry type of profile to be resumed for all of the future missions coming back from the south pole of the moon when we initiate lunar landings. So we've handed over to the tracking and data relay satellite system. That's where we'll have communications for the rest of the flight. Just to give you some time hacks here, we're 13.5 minutes away from crew module, service module separation, and just 17 minutes away from the raise burn, that 19-second firing of the thrusters that will basically be the final fine-tuning of the angle of attack for integrity as it enters the Earth's atmosphere.
All right, Hakeem, we just heard an anchor talking to the astronauts there. Can you give us a reaction based on the information that you were hearing relaying between both parties?
Yeah, it sounds like things are going as planned, and they're just gearing up for the next steps. They're going to enter the atmosphere. They're going to have their blackout. They're going to have that burn to take them back up to a slightly higher altitude. And then they're going to come in and they're going to refine their angle of entry, which is going to determine where they're ultimately going to land. And having the ability to pinpoint a much smaller area for where the craft is going to splash down in comparison to the old days where the Navy had to cover large areas of the ocean because there wasn't a lot of control. That's very important. And also hearing that, you know, like I said earlier, they didn't have time to completely change the heat shield after Artemis I. So what they did is they dropped the skip and kept the heat shield as is. And in the future missions, they're going to be able to resume the skip maneuver, which gives them even greater control over where and options for where the spacecraft ultimately splashes down. So it sounds like NASA is doing NASA things and everything is still on target.
All right, sounds good to hear. Hakeem Oluseyi, thank you for that information.
Thank you.
For more, let's bring in reporter Nick Notario from our Houston station, KTRK, live at Johnson Space Center for the latest from Mission Control. Nick, thanks. Looking good to talk to you again. Now, what's the energy like there in Houston as we anticipate splashdown?
Well, the energy is just about as high as Hakeem's was, I can tell you that much. There's a splashdown party here at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, and it's with a number of employees out here because think about this, you know, they've been working on this project for about 20 years. We spoke to one of the managers behind the parachute system, which you're about to see here. He's been working on it for almost 15 years. I spoke to him yesterday. I asked him, are you nervous? You know, this is the first time the parachutes that you helped put together are going to be used with human lives on board. He said, nervous? Heck no. We've been testing and practicing this for years, and we're confident that it's all going to work out. And when we talked to flight directors from Mission Control, they also were feeling confident. Although they are feeling good that everything is looking all right, they told us, though, that they will not be celebrating until they see that spacecraft splash down in the Pacific Ocean. But I can certainly tell you, like, after talking to people out here at JSC for about 10 days now, they're going to be holding their breath for quite a few minutes until they see those astronauts come out of that spacecraft and look A-OK.
Now, we're less than 2 minutes until that spacecraft essentially tests their thrusters. Now, upon splashdown and undergoing those medical checks, the astronauts, they're going to take a flight home to Houston and Johnson Space Center. What can we anticipate with their arrival, and are there any planned parties?
Well, I can tell you their families are sure excited to see them. What we've been told is that their immediate families, the astronauts' families, are here in Houston. They're going to be watching the splashdown from Mission Control, and they're not going to be going out to California. They're going to be sitting here waiting for them. They're going to arrive at the Ellington Airport, so not one of the two major airports if you've flown to Houston. It's another airport that NASA uses to travel with its astronauts. So they're going to arrive here at some point on Saturday. We don't know exactly when yet that'll happen. And then once they get back to Houston, obviously they're going to spend time with their families, but they're also going to go to see some of the doctors here in Houston. There's a whole hospital here at Johnson Space Center where they work with a number of the doctors, so they'll be looking at them, evaluating them, making sure that they're good as well. And then at some point, sure, they'll have a celebration with all of us. You have media from across the globe that'll be talking to them, seeing how they're doing. But you know, it's not just a celebration when they're here, but also there's a lot of work happening in San Diego. We met one of the gentlemen behind the study. He's actually going to put the astronauts through an obstacle course after they land just to test their balance. Because even though they were up in space for 10 days, we've been told that they're still going to be a little disoriented when they get off that spacecraft here in about an hour.
All right, right now we are less than 43 minutes to splashdown. Exciting times, Nick. How has this new chapter with Artemis and its missions transformed the Johnson Space Center?
It really has impacted not only the Johnson Space Center, but the aerospace industry here in the state of Texas, especially here in Southeast Houston. I can tell you that NASA has been pouring billions of dollars here into this region to make this a reality. And if it all goes well here in about 40 minutes or so, those astronauts safely land on Earth, it's full speed ahead. And that is tremendous, not just for the Johnson Space Center, but for all these private aerospace companies here in the region, because NASA has announced that it's going to do Artemis III in about a year, Artemis IV when they plan to put astronauts back in the moon in less than 2 years. So keep in mind that when the Artemis III crew was announced, it was just about 3 years ago. I was in the room when they announced those 4 astronauts' names and who would be flying. They had 3 years to prepare for this. Well, the Artemis III crew, we don't even know who they are. They're going to have a year. And then the Artemis IV crew that's actually going to land on the moon, they're going to have less than 2 years, and they haven't even said who that's going to be yet. So there's a lot of work to be done. So even though, yes, they will be celebrating, there will be a splashdown party here at JSC, we also know that they are already getting busy and ready for the future Artemis missions.
All right, Nick, thank you for that. And joining me now is engineer and National Geographic explorer Jess Todd. Jess, thank you for joining me. We're about 27 minutes until the Artemis II re-enters the Earth's atmosphere. And I want to talk to you about a very specific question in terms of this re-entry. Ahead of the mission, 2 former NASA scientists told ABC News they were concerned about the Orion spacecraft's heat shield because the Artemis I heat shield suffered some damage during re-entry. NASA officials and other scientists have pushed back on the concerns, and NASA saying it will stay within the shield's limits for Artemis II. How critical is the heat shield to this team's re-entry?
So the heat shield is the core system that's protecting the astronauts from that very hot re-entry through the atmosphere. It's an ablative heat shield, so it sort of sloughs off as it heats up, sort of taking that heat away from the capsule and keeping the astronauts warm, but not too warm inside. So on the first Artemis mission, they saw some uneven sort of sloughing on the heat shield. They're using a slightly different system to what was used during Apollo. So what they've done with Artemis II is they've actually changed the re-entry profile. Instead of doing what's called a skip trajectory, where they would slightly enter the atmosphere, then move back up out of the atmosphere and then re-enter to shed off some speed, they're going to come in a bit steeper. It means it's going to be a little hotter, but they're going to be exposed to that heat for a much shorter window. And so the NASA engineers are confident that's sitting right within the performance envelope of that heat shield. And then, as previous speakers have said, they're looking to redesign that system for subsequent Artemis missions.
And Jess, we're a little over 25 minutes until the Artemis II enters Earth's atmosphere. What are you most excited to see?
I mean, I think the most exciting thing will be seeing these astronauts climb out of that capsule and knowing that this is just the first step on this Artemis mission. Like, this has been an amazing 10 days to see everything that they've accomplished. They bring back some amazing data. As an engineer, I'm very excited to see all the data that they've gathered on the capsule of the radiation environment, how their human bodies have adapted, and that's just going to build into the next 3 Artemis missions.
How historic is this mission for space exploration?
This is pretty groundbreaking. This is the furthest we've ever gone from Earth that we've sent humans. We've demonstrated that we can do what we did in the 60s and 70s, but with newer technology, do it safer. And this is, again, the first step on this new journey to the moon with, the whole world coming along.
All right, Jess Todd, thank you for your time.
Thanks so much.
I'm Mike Ajachi in New York. Thank you to those watching. We are sitting here about 24 minutes away from the Artemis II mission re-enters Earth's atmosphere. The exciting mission right here live. We were definitely going to take you there until every moment. Obviously, we will show you that exciting re-entry where that Artemis II capsule will be engulfed in plasma. We know that capsule will be traveling at speeds near 24,000 miles per hour. Remember, that heat shield will be exposed. We do know that that separation already happened. The Artemis II spacecraft is expected to experience temperatures close to 5,000 degrees, again, coming in at about 24,000 miles per hour. We do know that with the Earth's atmosphere slowing it down as it enters into there, as well as those parachutes will slow it down to about 20 miles per hour. I'm Mike Ajachi in New York. Thank you to those watching on ABC News Live and National Geographic. Stay with us. The Artemis II astronauts moments away from re-entry on their return to Earth. Set the splashdown off the coast of San Diego. Special coverage continues now with David Muir, joining from the ABC Broadcast Network. Stay with us.
This is an ABC News special report. Now reporting, David Muir.
Tonight, the breaking news right here, Artemis II returning to Earth, 4 astronauts in the final moments of their historic journey around the moon and back. And now the 13 crucial minutes set to play out just moments from now. ABC News live coverage starts right now.
Good day. ABC Space Headquarters in New York.
10, 9.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing.
4, 3.
Not because they are easy.
1, 0.
But because they are hard.
Liftoff.
Artemis II.
Bound for the moon.
This is a new frontier.
There is nothing normal about this. Sending 4 humans 250,000 miles away is a Herculean effort.
Artemis II, the historic mission to the moon.
The 4 astronauts making history, flying further from Earth than any humans before them.
Today, for all humanity, you're pushing beyond that frontier.
We choose this moment to challenge this generation and the next to make sure this record is not long-lived.
History being made, beginning to see parts of the far side of the moon.
It is absolutely spectacular.
We can actually see the moon and Earth at the same time right now. Just absolutely phenomenal. You guys look great.
And now, 4 astronauts coming home. Reporting from ABC News headquarters in New York, David Muir.
Those 4 heroes almost here. Good evening, everyone. We are coming back on the air tonight because at this very moment, the crew of Artemis II is in the final stages of this historic and truly inspiring journey from the Earth around the moon and back, the first human mission to the moon in more than 50 years. Take a live look at this hour. The crew will be traveling at roughly 24,000 miles per hour when they re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. That'll be at about 7:53 Eastern, so just about 20 minutes from now. Now, NASA is planning splashdown at about 8:07 Eastern time, right off the coast of Southern California near San Diego. We'll be listening to communications between Mission Control and the crew throughout the night here. Just moments from now, the 4 astronauts in the Orion capsule will detach from the service module, as it's called, which has provided propulsion and power. And then soon after, inside their own capsule, they will soon re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. Now, this mission, one for the history books already, liftoff, captivating people all over the world, right here in the U.S., of course. That rocket, taller than the Statue of Liberty from the top to the bottom, weighing nearly 6 million pounds when it blasted off from the Kennedy Space Center. This was just 10 days ago. The crew sending back spectacular images during their voyage around the far side of the moon, viewing parts of the lunar surface never before seen by human eyes. The Earth visible in the distance just below the moon's horizon there. The astronauts' emotional group hug, one of the many displays of their close bond and teamwork. And right now, it'll be up to NASA to complete the final hurdle to get them home back to their families. My family right here, our team here in Southern California and right here in the studio with me to witness this final leg of this historic journey with all of you at home watching tonight. And so many of us have said this is something that has been such a wonderful break from everything else we've been watching on the news and taking in these historic images coming in from space. And as you can see there on the clock, 19 minutes to go. That is until re-entry. This is the separation you're looking right now. Let's listen.
Service module separation. And a great view, albeit momentarily.
Houston, good stuff on board.
Houston copies and concurs.
The European service module now separated from integrity. A job well done.
Job well done. We like hearing those words. The separation of the module from the capsule still carrying the astronauts. That capsule now will have to be angled just right for re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere. And as I mentioned, going at about 24,000 miles per hour, it'll be tested, that heat shield, which we might see in some of these images being beamed back by the capsule and fed to us live by NASA at this hour. This feed will probably be going in and out like we've seen these last couple of moments. It'll face a real test. This is mission control, of course. The real test comes at about 7:53. That's the re-entry into the atmosphere facing blistering heat. Temperatures nearing 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. We're talking about temperatures that we don't talk about unless we're talking about the surface of the sun. That's what that capsule will face. The heat shield will, of course, protect the astronauts. But I loved hearing job well done, the first part of this crucial phase, which they said would happen at about 7:33. And NASA keeps a tight clock going, right? Susan Kilrain with us here, former NASA astronaut, youngest person, one of only 3 women to pilot the space shuttle. Susan, you've been great for this entire 10-day journey, giving us sort of a window into this. You know, I've been listening to so many former astronauts, retired astronauts who have said, you know, the real nerves, the real anxiety is back here on Earth for the rest of us. Like the astronauts doing the work up there, they're just trying to get home.
And they're just doing their jobs, and they have trained for it for years, and so they're ready. They're strapped into their seats. They're ready. This is a momentous occasion. It all comes down to the re-entry and those parachutes deploying on time and slowing them down so they can safely land in the water.
So take us inside the capsule, the module, inside Orion right now. The visors come down. They have what are called essentially umbilicals that send in cool air. And they're fully aware of this real test that lies ahead here at 7:53, that intense heat. Take us inside the module. Do they sense any of that other than just simply the knowledge of what they're about to go through?
Oh, they'll be able to see it. They'll be able to see it. It looks similar to if you're flying inside a fireball, and it gets so hot on the outside surfaces that you're seeing, you know, yellows and oranges and reds and even whites, which is, you know, the hottest. It's not really fire; it's more like friction. But the temperature, they'll be able to see it, and you're right. They will stay cool inside their spacesuits. And that will keep them at a reasonable temperature. They're also wearing their compression garments because they're going to start feeling the G-forces.
And how long will they feel that for? You said they can actually feel the shaking of the capsule. They'll see it with their own eyes. How long does it last?
The entire reentry is several minutes, and we will lose comm. We'll lose communications. The ground will not be able to talk to them, and they won't be able to talk to the ground during that time either. So it's the glorious time when you hear that they're back in communications after that re-entry.
Yeah, so don't be alarmed at home when we go into that 6 minutes of silence from the capsule. Let's take a look right now at Mission Control. Let's listen in. They're, of course, in contact with the astronauts. Job well done with the module
Integrity.
coming
Good.
apart. Let's
CM
listen.
rays burn. Your flight path angle is within limits.
The rays burn. You can see there the clock in the corner. 15 minutes now until re-entry.
Integrity copies. Looks good on board, Jackie.
It's really incredible.
So
to be able to
the
listen
final maneuver is now complete. Our trajectory for a splashdown in the Pacific 29 minutes from now is set and will not be amended any further. And we have the right angle of attack to mitigate any excessive heat loads on the vehicle during entry interface.
Integrity Houston, a heads up about comm coverage. When you perform the 180 roll, for the first minute or so in that attitude, we expect about a minute LOS.
So just to let you know what's just happened is that final turn of the capsule to make sure it hits re-entry at precisely the right angle to make sure that they deal with as little of the heat as possible, right? Essentially, they know they're going to hit 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit geo, but when they say that mission accomplished, at least in this part of the journey, that's the crucial moment where they do the final preparation of the angle with which they'll re-enter the Earth's atmosphere.
The angle, and they want to separate the capsule from that service module. They want to give it enough separation so that they're not too close to each other as they both re-enter the atmosphere, because remember, they're both going to be hitting the Earth's atmosphere at that 5,000 degrees. And that is so crucial. That heat shield is so crucial. We've been talking about this being the most dangerous moment of the entire mission, and that's for a reason. But I should tell you, when we tested this back in 2022 with Artemis I, there were some issues with the protective coating, the thermal coating on that heat shield. There was some cracking that they found later on, but the capsule did survive, and that's what was critical. And in this case, in this entire mission, this Orion capsule has performed better than anyone expected.
And NASA has repeatedly said that they are confident. They did a number of tests, significant testing, in fact, after the previous mission to make sure that that heat shield could withstand what we're about to witness here.
Exactly right, because that is exactly what you don't want. You don't want anything chipping away. You don't want anything cracking, because what was happening was that basically that heat was building up under that protective coating, and it was cracking that. So you don't want anything that could endanger this crew.
Susan, what do you make of the heat shield? The fact that we're going into this, we saw some of the tests the last time, NASA saying, and you're a part of NASA, and you know they work hard to make sure everything is absolutely foolproof as they go into these missions, as they are about to face this crucial test.
That's right. They would not have sent these 4 astronauts and this mission if they weren't 100% confident that the heat shield could withstand these temperatures for that amount of time. They changed the trajectory before they shallowed it out so that they didn't get up to 5,000 degrees on Artemis I, but they were under the temperature for a very long time, longer than they're going to do today. So they'll get up to 5,000 degrees, but the length of time they'll experience it will be much shorter.
It's really fascinating, Susan, how you describe. They'll see flashes of red and even the white, which signals the warmest of the fire and the flames. They go into a communications blackout, as you say, because of the plasma and the heat, but that is expected. Don't be alarmed again at home for those 6 minutes or so when we won't hear from the astronauts. We're going to keep an ear very close to what we're hearing from Mission Control, but I wanted to show you at home what we've been talking about. This is one of the most critical components of the Orion capsules, the heat shield, protecting the astronauts during re-entry. Set Orion's course for re-entry to try to ensure that the shield spends as little time as possible in that extreme heat. The heat shield is the only thing standing between the crew and, of course, the danger they face as they re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. So the Artemis II astronauts will re-enter the atmosphere at about 7:53 here. We have 11 minutes to go before we witness this moment. The capsule generating a tremendous amount of heat as the atmosphere slows down their spacecraft up to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. But as Susan said, that's a split moment. The numbers then begin to decrease almost immediately. But the astronauts are fully aware of the heat that they're facing. Even in the capsule, they'll see it. The heat shield here at the bottom of the crew capsule, you saw it there in the animation as you're looking at right now, but you saw the real thing just moments ago. It protects them from the heat. It spans about 16.5 feet in diameter. It's comprised of about 186 tiles or so fitted onto a titanium and composite frame. It's designed to burn off during re-entry to protect the astronauts, transferring the heat away from the spacecraft. And again, NASA has repeatedly said that they did a number of tests after the first Artemis mission to make sure that this heat shield was up to the task that we will witness here tonight. Let's listen back in mission control.
The parachutes will ultimately slow Integrity down from its peak speed of almost 33 times the speed of sound to a gentle 19 miles an hour at splashdown.
They're talking about the significant parachute system that they have in place, a series of parachutes actually that will begin to deploy.
The vehicle is now currently in a roll to the proper attitude for entry interface. Our trajectory is right on according to flight dynamics.
Trajectory right on, which means 10 minutes from now we'll see that crucial re-entry followed by 13 minutes before splashdown. Those 13 minutes will include about 6 minutes when we will not be hearing from the astronauts themselves. That again is expected. That's because of the intense heat, the plasma that basically engulfs the capsule.
Integrity is on a trajectory from southwest and northeast across the Pacific Ocean, descending at a rate of 15,000 feet per second.
It's like co-anchoring with NASA, only you don't know when they're going to talk. So you just want to let them explain because it's really fascinating. There is the path right there. And just so you know, there are a team of not only NASA employees, the NASA medical team, but also members of the U.S. Navy. The USS John Murtha is stationed near the splashdown zone. Navy divers will immediately race to that capsule. They will inspect it. They will put around the capsule basically an inflatable raft, if you will, that's called sort of the front porch, is what they've nicknamed it. They'll inspect the capsule itself.
The EI roll 180 attitude.
As they prepare for this crucial moment 8 minutes from now. Let's listen.
This view out of one of Integrity's windows. We had a call for 3 good barrows. Those are barometric pressure sensors that feed altitude and rate of descent information to Integrity's computers that will trigger the parachute deployment sequence. We are less than 9 minutes away from entry interface, 22 minutes from splashdown.
You're hearing the NASA reference to the timing here. They're talking about the splashdown, which of course is the moment we will all celebrate, the splashdown in the Pacific. The countdown that we have up in the corner of the screen is just really as a guide for all of you at home to know the steps of this. The next crucial step is about 7 minutes from now. It's coming up very shortly, 7 minutes, 45 seconds or so until this crucial re-entry.
The weather conditions remain
traveling about 24,000 miles an hour. You can see the reflection, if you will, of one of the crew members in the screen there. Susan had told us before they'll be able to see the heat as they pass through it.
A gentle day in the
It's extraordinary to think that they'll be traveling as fast as 24,000 miles an hour when they hit that moment, 32 times the speed of sound, 45 times faster than a commercial airliner. Will Reeve is standing by live in Southern California, right there on the coast, the splashdown site not far from where Will is. And Will, the big question is, will we hear a sonic boom, which is expected sometime after 8 o'clock Eastern?
That's right, David. Good evening to you here on the beach in Coronado, right around the San Diego area. Just miles out that way is where we are expecting splashdown. And we're told that in about 20 or so minutes, we will possibly hear a sonic boom. That is the capsule making its arrival very well heard around here as it plummets to Earth. And I keep thinking about the fact that these astronauts are going in, re-entering Earth's atmosphere head first at 4 Gs. That's like going on a roller coaster from 400,000 feet in the air head first toward the ocean. That is what they will be dealing with. And we will hear the sonic boom, and that will be the announcement of the Orion making its presence known here. And then the rest of the recovery operations hopefully will go underway smoothly.
We're all hoping for that. Will, stay tuned with us for the coverage. We've been listening into Mission Control. They say the configuration for re-entry has been achieved. One more sign that they believe that they are, in fact, for this re-entry, which is now just 5 minutes, just under 6 minutes from now.
No action required.
I want to bring in Leslie Lopez, meteorologist. Many of you watching in the West at this hour are very familiar with Leslie from her work on KABC. She has joined ABC News, the network now, as a meteorologist. And so what a night to join us, Leslie. What a moment of history to witness. And I'm glad you're part of the team and here to witness this with us. And the weather, I'm glad about that too. What are you seeing?
Thank you. Oh, fabulous. David, thank you so much. That was a really wonderful, warm welcome. It's great to be here on the West Coast. It's a beautiful day. You'll notice, though, the wind is going, and that is one of the criteria for re-entry for the recovery. So let's talk about what this is all looking like as far as the weather picture is concerned, and do we have all the criteria that will make this a successful splashdown? Right now, the recovery criteria, you're looking at it, wave height under 6 feet. Yes, we have that. Winds, they are right around 10 miles per hour at the moment. They need to be under 28, so we're good. That's a go. Also looking at visibility and cloud coverage. Now, we do have a cloud layer. If you know anything about San Diego, that coastal eddy, that's that cloud layer that banks up against the coastline. That is going to be there. However, the good news is you're going to see the cloud ceiling. That's from the ocean up to the bottom of that cloud. There's enough room there for that recovery effort from an aerial standpoint to still continue. So that continues to be a go. But there will be a period where we won't see the vessel coming through a layer of clouds, and then it'll reappear, and hopefully that's going to be great, and we're going to get all the aerial support needed. And then of course there's vessels in the ocean getting ready for that. There is a storm I do want to mention that is just to the north into Northern California, Central California. Timing couldn't be better. That doesn't arrive till tomorrow. So again, this is all looking very successful and positive as far as the weather picture is concerned for the splashdown. David.
All right, 3 minutes, 55 seconds left until re-entry. Leslie Lopez, ABC News meteorologist, telling us essentially that the weather is cooperating significantly here. A number of factors around the splash zone, but not the zone itself, which is really encouraging to hear. Mission Control saying just moments ago that it will be, as we were saying earlier, a true 6 minutes of silence from these astronauts when they re-enter the atmosphere in about 3.5 minutes from now. Susan, as those astronauts like to say, they're just doing the work, but are you feeling the nerves right now?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I like to think of how the families are feeling.
Yeah.
The families are probably extremely nervous, and I get that. I mean, I understand that. They are going, I mean, we're looking for 3 things to happen perfectly. The attitude is set. They have to maintain that attitude. The heat shield has to hold, and the parachutes have to do their job. And those families aren't going to be happy until their loved ones are on that Navy ship.
That is completely understandable. In fact, we've kept sort of an arm's length from the families. I know they're very proud of their loved ones, but they want to see them home before they then tell us about what this has been like. And we get that, as you understand firsthand. Let's listen in, because we're just about 2 minutes away. Let's listen to Mission Control.
3 minutes from entry interface. 16.5 minutes till splashdown.
So 2 minutes to re-entry, 16 minutes until splashdown.
The USS John P. Murtha and the recovery team is on station and in position, as are the airborne imagery assets that we hope to receive imagery from as Artemis enters the Earth's atmosphere and through parachute deployment.
And Susan, take us inside NASA right now, because they too have spoken often about the tension, the anxiety, the concern that they feel. You know, they're doing their jobs too, but they feel it back at Mission Control.
Absolutely, they're on the world stage, and I used to sit at the Capcom desk for shuttle launches and re-entries, and yeah. It's a nervous time, but everybody is hyper-focused on their particular job.
No issues with the crew. And the weather at the splashdown site is go.
NASA confirming what we heard from Leslie there in Southern California, that the weather is a go. Something they have watched for days, these weather systems and the patterns. It is a go for splashdown. We're about 1 minute away from re-entry. And again, we've mentioned it here, but for those of you just joining us, this is ABC News live coverage of Artemis II returning from its historic journey around
Coming
the moon
up
and
on
back.
1 minute until entry interface.
You know, the launch 10 days ago is also high anxiety. But after that moment, getting through this historic journey, the next major test is the one about 30 seconds away now, the re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere, 24,000 miles per hour, facing...
Mark, 1 minute until entry interface.
1 minute, they're saying. We can take our countdown down now. We'll listen
until the
into
expected
NASA
start of our 6-minute blackout.
for this critical moment. Let's listen.
Integrity, 1 minute to a 6-minute blackout.
Integrity.
Again, the re-entry at any moment. We will not be hearing from the astronauts on integrity.
10 seconds till entry interface. And we have crossed the threshold, now entering the Earth's atmosphere. We're at 400,000 feet, traveling 34,800 feet per second. Time to splash down, 13 minutes, 10 seconds.
This is incredible to witness, and Susan, I gather that's some of the heat right there.
Yes, that's the plasma.
The plasma and the heat surrounding this capsule.
And as predicted, we've entered our communications blackout.
Is what leads to the blackout.
This will be a 6-minute blackout period. No voice, no data from the crew.
No voice, no data from the crew, as we're hearing from NASA right now. Dr. Hakeem Oluseyi, an astrophysicist, science educator, has been with us for our coverage these last 10 days. And Hakeem, you've been great throughout. This is one of the most anxious times of the entire journey.
This is the true test of our trajectory.
Absolutely it is. I am sitting on the edge of my seat just like the rest of you, waiting to see these parachutes deploy and a safe splashdown.
Aircraft in the vicinity of the splashdown.
Let's listen back into NASA, and again, they'll let us know in about 5 minutes now if they have regained communication with those 4 astronauts.
As it enters the period of peak heating in the Earth's atmosphere, the first tug of gravity being felt by Integrity's astronauts since their launch back on April 1st.
And of course, we are thinking of the families of pilot Victor Glover, mission pilot, Reed Weissman, the commander.
4.5 minutes until the end of the blackout period.
Christina Cook, 4.5 minutes to go until we hear from them again.
Time
Jeremy
to splash
Hansen.
down, 11 minutes, 33 seconds.
Of course, the Canadian astronaut. Everyone on board making history in their own way. The first Canadian to join them in a mission to the moon. This is the first time in many decades since the Apollo missions that we have sent humans back to the moon, and they made their own history, traveling farther than any astronauts who went before them, going to the far side of the moon and seeing with human eyes parts of the moon that have never been seen before, and sending back messages of hope and those extraordinary images. They have talked during their press conferences
The
about
landing and support officer reports that the P-3 has acquisition on Integrity.
About the importance of coming home. It was Victor Glover himself who
3.5 minutes left in this blackout
There
period.
you see it.
This is a visualization.
Visualization. So this is similar to the simulations we showed you earlier, only this one is from NASA. Let's listen.
Repelling of that heat on Integrity's heat shield.
I was saying Victor Glover, the mission pilot, was asked, what is he most looking forward to? And he said, splashdown. And who could argue with that? He also talked about this being like riding a fireball through the atmosphere, this incredible moment. And this visualization from NASA helps to explain this, why there would be a blackout during this period of time. the families of all of these astronauts.
Flight Dynamics reports that airborne assets in the vicinity of the splashdown zone do have a visual on Integrity. Still 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in our blackout period. Time to splashdown, 9 minutes, 35 seconds.
9 minutes until splashdown. Let's keep this visualization, but if we could add, Dave, our director in the control room, Trevor Rull, who is at a watch party at the San Diego Air and Space Museum. And Trevor, I gather the nerves can be felt in that room right now.
Absolutely, David, and what we are seeing is basically every single checkpoint that's being hit is being met with thunderous applause. You can hear a smattering right now. That's been happening continuously, 30 seconds after 30 seconds after 30 seconds after. And what we've been seeing are generations of families experiencing something that many of these people have never experienced before. I talked with one man here, an 86-year-old grandfather. He said he remembers watching the very first space launches. He remembers the Apollo flights. He remembers those first lunar missions. It inspired him to become a pilot and an engineer. Now, after 45 years of his own flight, he's retired. He is back here tonight with his grandchildren watching Artemis. And then at the same time, we're hearing from young people. There's two people behind me here, Lena, Olivia. These are students at UC San Diego who told me that they can't believe, when they learned about Artemis, they said, I can't believe it's happening in real life and not in the movies. That's how long it has been. What we've been hearing from family after family is that this is something that feels like a previous America would accomplish. Now, of course, we're in that tight window. Will it land safely? And of course, we know everyone's waiting on bated breath, but they're optimistic, David.
No question about that. A lot of optimism and a lot of prayers across this country tonight as we watch and wait for Artemis II to emerge in communication.
We're standing by for communications from the crew. We should be out of the blackout period less than a minute from now.
All right, let's listen. Less than a minute here to see if we can regain communications with the 4 astronauts on board: Victor Glover, Reed Weissman, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen.
We are now processing data from Integrity.
Which is a very good sign, right, Susan, that they are getting data. No communications yet with the astronauts, but they are receiving transmission from Integrity.
Well, this is great news.
Landing and support officer reports the small boats are en route to the splashdown target zone.
The vessels carrying the divers, members of the U.S. Navy standing by to race to that splashdown zone. And Susan, tell us what we're looking at right here.
It's the visual. It's the camera view of the reentry. It's no longer a visualization. And, you know, it looks healthy.
Well, they mentioned 6 minutes. We knew they would be 6 excruciating minutes, particularly.
Passing through 150,000 feet, our trajectory is perfect. We're getting intermittent views of Integrity. Still waiting to establish voice communication.
Integrity, Houston, comm check, post-blackout.
Houston, Integrity, we have you loud and clear.
Incredible.
Your trajectory is nominal, and your recovery teams have visual.
So there you have
Guidance
it.
looks good.
Artemis II responding
No action for the enabled internal camera controller fail.
to mission control.
Big cheers from the viewing room here in Mission Control as voice communication reestablished with Commander Reed Wiseman. For America and a waiting world, Integrity is 5.5 minutes away from coming home.
Well, it's not often when you sit here at the anchor desk when you feel chills. This is certainly one of them. History being made tonight, Artemis II, the first
Passing
mission
100,000 feet now.
in many decades taking humans back to the moon. In fact, they went farther than
Range to splashdown 19 nautical miles.
19 nautical miles until splashdown. We were expecting it at about 8:06 or so Eastern time, 8:07 perhaps. So just about 5 minutes from now. They mentioned those Divers are already en route. They clearly know where, certainly the
Integrity impact to the camera controller fail is no cab 1 views of the chutes.
we were expecting, hoping that we might get a view of some of these parachutes, though we're not entirely sure we will.
We're processing good data through the GPS system. A good view of Integrity. Time to splash down 4.5 minutes.
4.5 minutes to splashdown. There's an elaborate sequence of parachutes here. The first deployed at around...
And a view of Integrity from the WB-57.
There you go.
Yeah.
We're at 50,000 feet.
At around 22,000 feet, you'll see the first parachutes here. Part of this sequence of chutes. I saw some movement right there. Was that a... There it is. You can see a flash of something. Not entirely sure.
Yet.
It's one of
The
the
pyros
chutes
are
yet.
armed for forward bay cover jettison.
A flicker of something just above.
Here, you're going to see the drogue, the jettison, and then the drogue chutes.
And they deploy at about 22,000 feet, right, Susan?
And they're the first ones to come out.
Yeah.
There they are.
There they are.
There they are, right there.
And then
And there
there
go the first series of
other ones
parachutes.
right away.
And we're on drogues.
And Houston, we're visual 2 drogues out the window.
Yep. The drogue.
Those parachutes right there will slow the spacecraft to about 200 miles an hour.
Next up.
We copy. We see them.
Next up, the deployment of pilot parachutes that will pull the main chutes out. Time to splash down 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
Well, it's just incredible to think 4 human beings inside that capsule, right? Who have just seen the far side of the moon and come back to tell us about it. And what a bond we've witnessed from them. The hug.
Perfect descent rate according to flight dynamics.
Good rates on 2 drogues.
The symbol of the heart in their
We keep
photographs
the same on board.
that they sent back. And they named one of the craters in the moon that they discovered themselves after Reed Weissman's late wife, Carol. She died in 2020 of cancer. They'd been together for decades. And one of his fellow astronauts...
Passing through 10,000 feet.
Spoke of the moment.
Still on drogues.
Because Reed couldn't say it himself, though he was moved, certainly, that the astronauts decided, let's name it after your late wife, Carol. So many stories they'll share with us. There's the second set right there.
Main chute deploy. We're at 5,000 feet.
The crew
Search and
met with-
recovery beacon has been activated on Integrity.
The search and recovery beacon activated for those Navy divers who are
And we
now
have
racing
3
to the
main
site.
chutes.
Out the window.
Good 3 main chutes, good reefing, good descent rate.
Good rates, and we see 3 good-looking parachutes.
This is picture perfect.
Integrity. Cabin pressure indicates no need for hydrazine checks.
Integrity copies.
This is a perfect descent for Integrity. Its crew sounding hale and hearty on board.
Glad to hear it.
Time to splash down 1 minute, 15 seconds.
1 minute, 15 seconds until splashdown in the Pacific Ocean off of San Diego. The USS John Murtha is in the region. Navy divers will race to the craft. They will deploy that inflatable around the capsule.
Integrity about to complete a journey spanning 694,481 miles from its launch from the Kennedy Space Center back on April 1st, and a trip around the moon.
I mean, these are words you have not heard in decades in this country. There are a lot of viewers watching tonight who remember this from the Apollo mission, several of them, those missions, but of course, a whole younger generation witnessing something that they've only read about in the history books. A little flash there at the capsule.
Passing through 1,000 feet.
Those 3 parachutes, of course, the end of that sequence, and certainly the ones that are doing most of the work in trying to slow this capsule, slow integrity down to about 20 miles per hour. There's the splashdown.
Splashdown confirmed.
Copy splashdown, waiting on VLDR.
Splashdown confirmed at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time.
Which, by the
From
way,
the
is
pages
exactly
of
when
Jules
NASA said it would
Verne, the modern-day
happen.
mission
7
to the
minutes
moon,
past the hour.
A new chapter of the exploration of our celestial neighbor is complete. Integrity's astronauts back on Earth.
Back on Earth, in the Pacific. The divers will get there. They will look at the outside of Integrity to make sure.
And the landing and support officer reports the vehicle is stable 1.
Stable, there you
We
go.
still will be deploying the crew module uprighting system to maintain that orientation. A perfect bullseye splashdown for Integrity and its 4 astronauts.
We can breathe.
We can. We just want to see them now, right? And they will get to the craft, the divers, and as I was mentioning earlier, I just don't like to talk over NASA because they're so fascinating. I'm having fun listening in on them as well. But they will check the exterior of the capsule to make sure that there isn't any significant damage, to make sure it's safe to open the latch.
The unofficial splashdown time, 7:07 and 47 seconds p.m. Central Time. We'll get that refined for you.
Well, now they're just showing off.
They
tell us it's exactly when we said it would happen.
31 minutes, 35 seconds.
There will be an initial
And
check.
we're configuring for very low data rate.
They will initially check to make sure that all of the astronauts are feeling okay. And then they're going to take...
Once again, splashdown occurring in the Pacific, southwest of San Diego at 7:07 and 47 seconds p.m.
Integrity Houston, comm check on VLDR.
Houston, we have you loud and clear on VLDR. How us?
We
There
have you
see
the
the
same.
fast
We'll meet
boats
you over in
making their
post-landing.
way to Integrity.
Perfect communications established.
We are told this is the first time that the U.S. Navy has teamed up with NASA to get to the crew on board, those 4 astronauts,
Houston copies all.
3
Reed
Americans,
Wiseman
1
reporting 4
Canadian.
green crew members. That is not their complexion. That is the fact that they're in great condition. That's what that means. So stable 1, upright. The crew module uprighting system is being deployed. The 5 airbags being inflated through helium to maintain the upright configuration for the vehicle. This was a textbook entry and a textbook touchdown for Integrity. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen back on Earth after a journey around the moon.
Yeah, that's going to be impressive at the Thanksgiving dinner to be able to say, we were the ones up there. We know that standing by are 2 Navy MH-60 helicopters. They actually have cameras on them. We're getting some of these images from those helicopters. They're going to be carrying them to the nearby ship, the USS Mirtha, which is waiting. They're going to put 2 of the astronauts on each helicopter. And I believe Christina Cook is going to be the first to emerge. Do we know who will emerge from the capsule?
Christina Cook is first.
Yeah. She'll be first, which seems appropriate. And Susan, you know all too well the relief, the sighs from these families waiting to see their loved ones.
We continue to monitor.
I imagine there were tears from all of them, every one of them, tears of joy, of relief, of happiness. They must have held their breath for the last 30 minutes.
Reed Wiseman reporting 4 green crew members, meaning they're all in excellent shape.
Who knew that green crew members is code for excellent shape? Usually when you see someone green, although I wouldn't be surprised if they did look a little green after what they've just been through.
that
but that's not what it
Integrity
means. It
Houston,
simply
4
means
Star
they
Beacon
are
and
in
radio.
great shape. The divers reaching.
Star Beacon
Capsule, they're
is
being
in
lifted.
for 06, and we're powering the radio now. Go ahead.
We see the beacon on. However, the recovery team is not seeing the signal. Your SAR radio uses the same antenna, so you may run into trouble with the radio.
Okay, copy. And we are also powering up
So we're about to witness an extraordinary moment where we will see the hatch lifted, and then the astronauts, again, as I mentioned, will be checked for a quick medical evaluation before something far more extensive on board the USS Mirtha.
As the crew continues its post-splashdown,
they'll be taken away by those 2 helicopters
on board. Reed Wiseman once again reporting that all 4 crew members are in excellent shape. And we have 5 inflated airbags to maintain an upright configuration.
I want to bring in Dr. Arian Anderson. He's an emergency medicine physician trained in aerospace engineering. You would know better than us that when you hear they're green, which means they're in excellent health, and we're hearing from the commander, Reed Wiseman, who's in the capsule, who says the rest of the 3 are in perfect health. That's got to be great news for you to hear too, Dr. Anderson.
After a thorough system
yeah, that's as good as it gets, and that's kind of the first evaluation of the astronaut crew. Is they all kind of look left and right, give each other the thumbs up, and when the first recovery team gets there and takes a look in the hatch, they kind of do the similar and make sure that everybody's feeling okay before, you're right, they go on to do more extensive medical evaluation and even a little bit of research testing as soon as they get their feet on solid ground again.
They'll be given the opportunity to stay at a hotel in San Diego if they just want a little time to readjust before being taken to Houston. But Dr. Anderson, I gather they'll go straight to Houston. Look what they've just been through.
Yeah, I think they're probably eager first to see their families, eager to, I think, greet the people of the world and just celebrate this exciting journey we've all been on.
Cody Page also with us here tonight, National Geographic Explorer, professor of mechanical engineering at Columbia, and the former director of MIT Space Exploration Initiative. And Cody, I know you have studied all too well the reentry and the stakes, and knowing that heat shield, the job it had to perform. And we have witnessed history tonight. It did exactly as NASA was hoping.
Some trouble with the SARSAT phone on board, but that's not an issue. What is more important is that
Cody, can you hear me?
The vehicle is solid.
Yes, yeah. It's honestly, sorry, I was listening to NASA there. It's been the whole mission, I feel like, has just been incredible. That it's been exactly how it's supposed to be. So the way that heat shield worked and the parachutes deployed and everything, the timing. It's a testament to exactly how perfectly NASA plans these things. It's so exciting.
It really is. Cody, thanks so much. Dr. Oluseyi also still with us. The anxiety gone? We wanted to check back in with you and make sure you're breathing okay.
Oh, man, I had a huge sigh of relief when I saw that 3rd parachute that looked like it was having a little trouble fully deploy, right? And now they've made it safely.
It's really incredible news. Now we just wait to see the divers get to the capsule and open the hatch. Hakeem, thanks so much. Asa Stahl, also with us, science editor from the Planetary Society.
Integrity, Houston did not call.
The history that's been made right here tonight with generations watching. And as I mentioned earlier, so many of our viewers remember the Apollo missions, but there are so many others who have not witnessed something quite like this before.
Yeah, this was truly spectacular. I mean, I didn't realize I was holding my breath, but I was at the launch and it felt, sorry.